All right, and welcome back to episode 60 of The Bench, powered by Wowhead, and GROWL is looking more patriotic than ever. What's up, buddy?
USA, USA. You know what's funny is, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but one of my favorite things to do is during, like, when you're in raid, you know how there's that like global chat that everybody sees, like Manifold Omega channel?
Yeah.
There's an emote, Peepo USA, with a Peepo that like has a flag, and I always post it. It's always fun to see, like, people who will recognize my name will post it, and then I'll see people that I recognize, and it's like, I don't know, it's been a funny meme that I've been doing now that I've been raiding on Jangbi.
No, I thought it was just going to be the correct background, considering that the Americas, all of them, went back to back to back in the Race World first.
Hell yeah. USA.
A good title
too.
A really good title. I mean,
that race was hype. What an actually crazy race. I know there's been several like pretty close races in the past.
Yeah.
But I mean, undeniably, this has to be the closest one, right? Like Echo had 2 back-to-back under 0.5% wipes before Liquid got it. I mean, I was admittedly a little checked out for a lot of the race. I think a lot of people are, because it starts with splits all the time, and then the bosses, the first ones are easy.
Yeah.
But Nexus King was pretty cool, and then the head-to-head Demencias, like, I'm pretty sure everybody had Gingy's stream or whoever open on one monitor and Max's stream open on the other monitor, the other tab or whatever, going back and forth on that day.
It was incredible to watch. Like, I was on a plane at the time, and I had plane Wi-Fi, and it was just good enough to watch it like 360p to watch it, man. And I was
Nice.
I was like watching the guild Discord chat and be like, "Oh my god, phase 3, tune in," and then they would wipe it. I would be really sad. But
There were so many phase 3 wipes. That boss, we're gonna talk about the raid in a little bit. That boss is demonic. That thing is part of the Queen Anserek somehow. I don't even know how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about classes, I think. So,
side note, dude, I just wish they brought back Heroic Week. Like, what GROWL said about splits is true, and realistically, you can't get rid of splits just because of how powerful they are. But something they could do is bringing back Heroic Week, uncap Mythic Plus, and just let people play. And just, I think that's better for anybody who's like raiding Mythic, Race World first or regardless. Like, I feel like people who want to raid Mythic want to enter Mythic on week 1, and being forced to spend your entire raid week on Heroic and Normal just feels awful.
I mean, this leads to a future discussion, but I'm gonna bring it up now because it's a good segue. Did you hear that there's 3 raids in Midnight? They announced 3 different raids: a 6 boss, a 1 boss, and a 2 boss.
I did see that, and they're bringing back Heroic Week, and there's like difference.
No, there's no confirmation of Heroic Week. That is assumption,
Okay.
and people should treat it as assumption for the time being.
All right.
But the 2 boss raid is releasing 2 to 3 weeks after the other raids. How is that going to affect the Race to World first?
Don't care. I think this stuff is awesome. I'm super happy that they're experimenting with different raid ideas. I mean, talking about like suggestions that I've made on the pod over the last year, I think by far and away, like the biggest one that I say is like, encourage them to make spin-offs on different types of raids and dungeons and hard modes and that sort of thing. And this is like, I hope, a clear pathway to it. I'm huffing a little copium here, and I'm hoping that maybe they're not just the same format raids as everything else, right? Where there's normal, LFR, heroic, 20-man mythic. Like, I'm hoping, what if we get a 5-man? What if we get a 10-man raid? What if we get, like something cool? I don't know.
All right, now you're huffing.
I know I'm huffing a little bit, but I mean, I feel like this is a good opportunity for them to do it.
I tend to agree with you. Everything since Dragonflight has released, it's all kind of been formulaic, I guess is the best way of describing it, where it's all kind of felt samey. All the raids, there's a very specific design intention with all the raids, with the number of bosses and just like how they are. The Mythic Plus seasons have felt samey, although I think that the Mythic Plus season formula is pretty good, so I don't think they necessarily have to change that. But I do think the raid stuff has suffered a lot from being very formulaic, and the fact that they're doing 9 bosses, a 6-boss raid, a 2-boss raid, and then a 1-boss raid, with the 2-boss raid allegedly being the hardest one. Was that right, Squishy?
So it's like I said, it releases 2 to 3 weeks after, and I think it is the continuation. So I think it's supposed to be slightly harder than the others.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is good. In regards to like how it affects the Race World first, though, I mean, the Race World first is like a grassroots esports thing, anyways. So I mean,
are you gonna count the 6 boss? Are you gonna count like the 7 and then a 2 as a separate tier? Are they gonna go back to the venue like 2 weeks later?
Well, that's why I was saying it's like grassroots, right? Like, sure. it's a little bit weird for the Race World First, but this just might not count for a Race World First. There might not be a broadcast for it.
But
for a tier like,
I think this is what people are going for, right? Like, if this releases 2 weeks later, people are going to be geared up. This is the raid that everybody's probably going to be, relatively well geared. Splits probably won't happen as much because it's the same tier. You're not getting, better gear or something like that. So people are going to go in on more equal footing. Maybe we could see some interesting stuff happen.
I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being like a race from home type of phenomenon just because of the structure of this raid. Obviously, I haven't talked to any of the Liquid people at all, and I don't really know what they're kind of thinking. But the Crucible of Storms was a continuation of BOD, and there was no in-person event for that. Well, maybe there should have been because Una was
10 weeks
crazy.
Later.
That was a few weeks later, yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I think it's cool, like GROWL said. The fact that they're doing something different. A one-boss raid that you can go to, like, if you get walled in the 6-boss raid, you go to the one-boss raid, like, kind of interesting.
How do you think it's going to feel for pugging raids? It seems really weird for pugging, right?
Well, actually, I think it might be better because you have it more, like, bite-sized, right? Like, a lot of times you get, like, how often do you get in this situation where you need items from, like, the last 2 bosses or the last 3 bosses or whatever, like the harder bosses, but, like, you don't really want to sit through a full raid just to get to those bosses, or, you don't want to join some group that's, like, progging, you kind of want to be in a group of people who, like, have a decent chance of killing the boss, so, like, being able to choose, like, okay, we're just gonna pug this raid. It's a 1-boss raid or a 2-boss raid. You knock the bosses out, you're gone. I feel like it'll be better for pugging. No, I mean, I feel like not that there's a lockout situation in heroic, but I don't know. It's also a very interesting situation too for like mythic pugging. I know a lot of people in the comments are like,
is that even a thing?
Mythic?
Yeah.
Well, there definitely is, right? There are some groups of people, but the problem is like usually you just try and take the low-hanging fruit and leave. But imagine now you can mythic pug a 2-boss raid. Like it's not some big commitment. It's not like you're committing to like do the whole thing, right? Like I don't know, you just find a group of people, you try and grab a few from LFG. I feel like this is like very beneficial for pugs the way that it's bite-sized like this. Because like let's say you end up pugging a boss or getting locked to something, like you can still do the other raid with a completely new other group, no?
Yeah. I mean,
oh wow, the lockout being
that's
separate.
Actually a good thing.
Huh.
Mythic lockout is very interesting because like that's something that we've complained about a lot about here. You do 2 of 8 in the 6-boss raid. You can do just the solo one with a different group in the 1-boss raid, then do the 2-boss raid in a separate one. So that could be really interesting.
I think that breaking the mold is fantastic. Like the every single raid is an 8-boss formula with this kind of, we have separate in-tier boss here and a separate in-tier boss here, and it all felt the exact same. I was not super hyped about. I think that this is kind of starting to break that mold in a way that I like. I would like for them to go to larger raid size, or like larger raid sizes in the sense of more bosses in a raid. I don't think it has to be for every single raid, but I wish that we would get hit with like a 10 or an 11 boss raid occasionally.
I'm okay with those. I just think that they have to be a little careful with the trash in the raid. I mean, I'm always complaining about the trash in the raid.
Raid
but, like,
trash is so bad.
Whenever I think of like the raid, like for instance, Nyalotha, right? At the end of it was a raid at the end of BFA. What was that? An 11 boss raid, or was it even?
Which one? Nyalotha?
Nyalotha, yeah. It was somewhere between 10 and 12.
I think it was 11, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think it was 11 too. And that was not a particularly hard raid, if anybody remembers, right? Like there was not any really big wall bosses besides the very last boss. And that raid was still completely massive. And like I get that they're trying to make it cool, but like, at the end of the day, you have to remember that people farm the raid, right? On whatever difficulty, whether it's normal, heroic, mythic, and having trying to make some giant epic raid with tons and tons of trash, it just gets a little annoying. Like it's cool to see the first time, but so I don't really mind the bigger raids as long as they tone down the trash a little bit, which it just seems like they do not want to go in that direction based off of every single raid that we've seen so far that they've ever made.
We keep getting this weird thing where this might be me huffing the copium that GROWL is on, but it seems like they keep like applying difficulty to mid-boss or mid-raid bosses on accident. And I think if they added more bosses, it would at least give them the opportunity to maybe make the difficulty curve a little bit more smooth.
Yeah,
That might be complete copium, but it would be the exact same regardless, though.
The difficulty curve of this raid is also a little sus.
They fixed
GROWL,
it.
we'll see. GROWL, how far is your raid? Out of curiosity, how far did
Oh,
you guys
nice.
get?
Time for the Growl's Drogo
Yeah.
Guild update of the week. So we are actually we've killed Forge. Is it Forge Weaver?
Yes.
Nice.
We've killed Forge Weaver. We opted to skip Soul Hunters and go to Fractalus, and we are pretty close to killing that boss. I mean, we it's not really that difficult of a boss. It's just an Omega Weakura check, and so we've spent our time troubleshooting the Weakuras, and then the problem is I have one day of the week where I don't raid normally, and our guild decided time to overtime that day. So I'm raiding now 7 days a week in between retail and mop, not even counting any alt raids or anything else that I do. So yesterday was the overtime Forge Weaver day. So we killed that boss, and then we were on Fractalus. And so today I'm a little skeptical, but the hope is that we can kill Fractalus and Soul Hunters. I don't know if we can kill that in 4 hours, but we'll see.
Let me ask you a question.
Should be able to, but no.
How many melee do you have in Soul Hunters?
We actually have a pretty good roster. I'm pretty sure we have triple mage, triple warlock, double shadow priest, double aug.
Okay, you should be fine then, dude.
Okay, yeah.
Running more than 2 melee in that counter is we wiped the enriched check multiple times.
Really?
Yeah, the DPS check is very real. We're forced to run 4 or 5 melee. The 4 would be with a hunter, which also is a little abnormal. So our
Hunter's
comp
good
is
on that
not
boss.
good this year. It's good. It's definitely better than melee, but we just opted to run a 5th melee before the stuff came out, and we're like we killed one boss and had two bosses at 10% on our best pool.
PC's Marks Hunter was like top DPS in their raid by like 5 or 6%. That boss.
It high rolled. I mean, all hunter logs right now are high rolls. Look at the early Fractalus kills. All their hunters high rolled. You know that spec is like super like has a massive swing in
yeah.
DPS,
I mean, I understand that Black Arrow RNG is a thing, but like being like, oh yeah, hunter's the same as melee. I feel like it's just not exactly true.
I completely disagree with it now, but when we made the comp and like planned for it, we thought they were about the same.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fair. That's just like I'm like I don't know if I agree with that.
No, but Soul Hunters is definitely, in my opinion, what are banded of the tier, where the Race to World First guilds and the high-end guilds who have the comp make it look super easy, and guilds who don't have the comp or struggle with coordination are going to struggle with it significantly.
Yeah,
it's a massive healer check.
What do you think about the pinging of yourself on that fight?
We stopped using it. We found it a waste of time.
Really?
Yeah, because we the warlocks can meet up via port, the mages can blink, and the dragons just grip, and the priests grip.
That's never been like that. What about me?
I'm a little worried because I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So yeah, I think we're doomed.
Yeah, you have to pass the puddle soaking debuff to one another. Yeah, and the meta strat is to ping yourself right before you're about to drop it off, so that way the person who's supposed to be picking it up can find you.
Oh, usually, well, usually
you should watch it. You should watch a Dratnus video before your raid tonight.
Dude, all right, sorry if I'm throwing shade here, but I feel like every single Dratnos guide video is like, all right, guys, so this is Dratnos. Here's my guide. Now, I'm a tank, so I just run around and I don't do any mechanics. Oh, there's this circle. I think it's dangerous, but I just live this because I'm a tank. And I don't know what this part is, but I think people might die to this. And it's like, his guides aren't bad, but it's like, dude, the POV of a mythic fight from a tank compared to like a squishy class like a Disc Priest. I remember being like infuriated watching his one of his guides in Amir Drasil. What was the like fire tornado boss that was like right before Tindril? Why can't I remember?
Smolderon.
Yeah. That was like one of the most difficult fights I've ever done on a squishy character. And then watching his guide, he's just like running around, getting hit by tornadoes, like standing in lava. I was just like, how does it know this fight? Like, goddamn tanks.
It's crazy. I mean, it's interesting to me that you say that that's a hard to heal fight, where that fight in my mind is like healers just pump big HPS. It's a big HPS check. Where every other fight this tier is just like this cringe, your healers have 1.5 globals to heal you, otherwise you die triage check at all times.
This tier very much feels like it's almost more on the healers than it is on the DPS early on.
I was getting... Let me calm down for a second. I was getting absolutely destroyed on Forge Weaver. Like, Moonkin is not particularly durable to begin with. And it's just like, I think our intermission phases were running a little bit long was the problem. And I just bled out on that boss so much. Man, that fight, like, every single boss this tier is just going to be this big triage check where your healers have 1.5 globals to heal your character, otherwise you die. It's insane.
Yeah, Forge Weaver's that, Fractilis, I mean, it's just the burst, right? There's no damage until the burst of the walls, and then if you live, you just go back to no damage again. And then Soul Hunters is just absolutely disgusting how much damage
it's just pure HPS. But none of us have gotten a Salhadar yet, but Salhadar's hardest mechanic is the fucking dot. Like, the dot that gets applied to random people, that is by far the hardest part of this.
Oh, in phase one?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's ridiculous. And so I'm just sitting here like, dude, this is going to be brutal.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot on the pod, the idea of power creep or defensive creep specifically. And while having a bunch of buttons that you can press and like being able to exercise your skill, like I think we all generally like that. The problem is like, well, the difficulty creeps up, right? Like we have these situations where they have these like crazy intermission phases that are baiting out like multiple defensives, like, and you get these crazy debuffs. And the fact that healers can possibly top you so fast and you have so many defensives just requires like such a precise level of play that just feels out of place a little bit in an MMO, right? Like as a healer, you know, I feel like this is where it gets lost the most, is in a healer or a tank where, you know, like, okay, I envision as a tank, you go into a pack, you know, you look at your health. Oh no, this pack is doing a lot of damage. My health is moving down fast. Let me press a defensive. Okay, I'm stabilizing. Like, okay, my defensive is done. How do I feel now, right? But the way it works now is it's like, well, okay, this ability just hits you for 150% of your health and kills you in one hit if you don't press a defensive. Or like, if you're in the pack for 0.7 seconds without a major defensive, you're just dead instantly. And it's like, well, you know, I guess part of it's our problem for just doing such ridiculously hard content, but I just wish things were like slowed down a little bit and there was more emphasis on decision making rather than knowing ahead of time.
I mean, Dementius is the same way, where it's not even about decision making. It's about like honestly having your UI set up in a way where you can, like, as a healer, tell who is likely to die, because seeing somebody's health bar drop to a certain amount isn't enough. It's when are they being targeted by an ability? Who is in range of being ticked out by the next tick of an ability? Like for Forge Weaver, a great example is like being able to track people who have the heal absorb at all times. Also, the whenever people are starting to drop the ad, like that is such a weird thing, and like you have to be able to even track that to make sure that they're getting constant heals.
It's a little bit weird too, because like the whole idea about dropping the ad and then like knocking it into the thing and focusing the ad, like that's a very thought intensive like part of the fight, right? Like you're trying to position yourself very precisely with all the other people that are dropping. Like you don't really expect to just be getting absolutely pummeled while that's happening too. Like definitely the first couple times I got that ad drop, I like died or I went to like very low health and I'm like, I didn't even realize how much damage this did. And like that's actually one of the scariest parts of the fight, is when you're dropping the ad.
I mean, the biggest problem with Forge Master, because we're there, and I'm going to rant about this just a little, is I didn't realize this, is one of the tooltips for the Dungeon Journal is wrong. There's supposed to be a passive aura that does like 1.3 million damage per 2 seconds. Instead, what it is for every collector that's active, each collector shoots 3 random people for 5 million damage. So while you have all 3 collectors active, if they just happen to choose the same person, you just get globaled and die.
Well, there's a range on them. And so if you're standing in the middle, yes, you can get targeted by 3 collectors.
Okay. And when are you not standing in the middle, though? Especially when you're in an ad drop.
Well,
like you're
in theory, you're not supposed to be standing in the middle, which is why they made Photon last 1 second previously, and then they nerfed it.
But yeah, I mean, like, that mechanic might be one of the worst mechanics that they've made ever.
Yeah. The non-telegraphing targeted damage is bullshit.
Like,
yes.
We complain about bolters. This is like bolters on crack.
It's non-telegraphed. It's literally non-telegraphed.
It's like if every bolster was just instant cast. and just fired it randomly every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So brutal.
I will say,
aside from the survivability of the fight, I thought that fight was fun. I enjoyed
fun,
it. Yeah. Like, I think this is the big difference. We're complaining about this boss a little bit. I feel like generally this boss is pretty fun. Like, I think there hasn't really been a boss so far in the raid that I'm like, this is like a terrible boss. Like, there's some annoying things, but like, I think the idea, I mean, again, maybe it's just because I'm playing a DPS now and every boss seems fun because I'm not playing a freaking Disc Priest, but I don't know, like the idea of like, you know, there's different damage amps, there's, you know, different intermissions, there's like ads that spawn and you can like, you know, some classes can capitalize off the ads if you like hold certain buttons or globals for a little bit. Like, I don't know, I think it's a pretty good boss. Like, there's some annoying parts, but overall, I liked Forge Weaver.
I think that they maybe even over nerfed it a little bit. I do think they're gonna have to nerf it again, which is like,
wait, what? They over nerfed it and they're gonna have to nerf it again.
No, the thing is, like, I think they over nerfed it relative to like the time in the raid that's happening, right? Like for guilds that are currently going to be on Forge Weaver, I think it did receive a little bit of an over nerf, but like for guilds that are coming a few months from now, that fight is still like in its current state going to be a little bit too hard for them, which is and so it's like a kind of a weird phenomenon.
I think the only thing they need to nerf is that specific ability, the one that shoots you randomly. I think that's the only thing they need to nerf, because as damage goes up, you need less knock coordination. You just place the ads on the far side like people were on beta.
I guess maybe you can if you could just like 4 heal it and it's kind of whatever as well. Probably fine.
I mean, 4 healing doesn't do anything right now because of that debuff. Like, it's not going to save you from being shot twice.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the heal absorb is also actually a pretty annoying part of that fight. Also, the fact that there is a stamina check on soaking the tank ad. Maybe those things get nerfed enough by gear.
I think the fight gets nerfed enough by gear. Like, I had fun, other than specifically that one mechanic. I think that's all they need to change.
Yeah. That's reasonable. But yeah, then they came through and nerfed Fractalus and Soul Hunters, which I'm not really sure if that's needed or not.
Seem brutal. I think Soul Hunters seems like it's in a pretty good spot for where it's at in the raid.
End up on the Chinese version of Wowhead.
You're on Miss of Pandaria as well.
You're also on Miss.
How did I get here? I literally am looking at like a Forge Weaver nerf, and somehow it's just all in Chinese.
Oh, this is my great title. People loved that title.
Yeah, that title was a little bit controversial.
I got a lot of pings from like guilds around like our level that were like, great article, and a bunch of people complaining.
I will say I just don't agree that Blizzard tunes things around the race to world first. I understand the sentiment and why people would think that. I don't think it's true. I think Blizzard's going to tune things how they're going to tune things independent of the race.
Yes and no. I mean, are they sitting there being like, okay, we need to make a really hard boss for Liquid and Echo? I don't know, right? Like, I kind of agree with you there. However, I think almost in every situation, they're going to err on the side of making things too tough and then nerfing them rather than making them too, like, then worry about making them too easy. You know if that makes sense? That was something I commented on in PTR, which wasn't really super true, was the fact that a lot of the bosses seemed fairly easy on PTR. Like Fractalus, we actually killed on Mythic without weak auras. I remember doing Forged Weaver as well. Soul Hunters was still a little bit of a mess, but I kind of expected them to like Giga buff those bosses, which they definitely Giga buff Forged Weaver, and then Fractalus also, but then they kind of walked that back. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they do kind of, the thing that I hate, I don't want to say tuning for the race roll first, but I really hate the whole like, well, we have to wait for the race to be over to do any tuning. Like, it just feels bad that, like, you know, what about Prez Evoker? Like, how many guilds right now who maybe didn't have a Prez Evoker ready saw the power of that class and is like, oh no, now we need to scramble and get somebody to play Prez and get it geared up? Well, is that class going to get gutted now? Like, every guild just has to, like, wait until the world first kills happen so that we get the patch tuning? Like, if there's a problem, I think we should address it right away with a boss.
Is that not a class? I mean, like, what you're saying about Prez Evoker, is that not just like being bad at class tuning? Like, does that have anything to do with the race? I guess it's a better question.
Well, what I think it has to do with the race is because, like, at least earlier in this expansion, was it Nerebar Palace? It was very clear that class was OP and it was going to get nerfed, but they refused to nerf it until after the race. That's sort of
Mistweaver.
the issue that I have, right? Like
Mistweaver and Liberation of Undermine, right?
yeah, like if they identify that there's a problem class, like especially early on in the tier, like let's at least like give it some some soft nerfs or whatever right away until they
I guess the reason that I actually don't think that that's true is because most of the time, okay, I think that this tier was especially stupid because they buffed Fire Mage and nerfed Affliction Warlock based off the data from the first week of wearing old tier sets. And the reason that you can't do that is because the data is just bad. And so like that's the reason that I think that they should kind of hold off on class tuning stuff so that there is better data to actually be able to look to tune specializations off of, including things like Preservation of Evoker, like you're talking about, which tends to actually coincide with the Race to World First ending, but I don't think it's due to the race, I guess is maybe where I have a different opinion, but I do see what you're saying. I like, if it's due to the race, then yeah, I mean, they should just be fucking slamming down nerfs that they think they have perfect data on stuff. If it's like, I tend to think that it corresponds at around the same time. Like it's reset 2 that the race is almost always over. And so that also is where you normally have actual data that's real.
Yeah. I like one of the things that I want to ask you guys is I think Max said something like class tuning was super good this tier.
Yeah.
For the race. Do you agree with that?
I think there's a couple of outliers on the top end and on the bottom end, but I tend to agree. I think
there were some weird things I think that didn't get. I think the reason that he said that maybe is because there were things that were like sort of being discovered and like differences between the guilds, right? Like I think everyone pretty much agreed that range classes were favored over melee, but it turns out that like rogue ended up being pretty good. Like there was debates of, oh, do we not even bring a rogue to these fights, or it ended up being like rogue slammed, especially on Demencius. Also feral druid ends up being pretty good. While it's not good for some of the boss profiles, like being able to switch targets on ads and stuff, just raw single target damage feral actually seems like pretty dang good.
I think that it's kind of like specializations have very specific niches. Like, okay, if you go ahead and you look at Warcraft logs, Dev Evoker is relatively low on this, but I actually think Dev Evoker is quite good, especially whenever you're considering like what Dev is doing on many of the bosses, whether it be on Forge Weaver. Dev Evoker is probably the best spec in the game at being able to kill the ads. On Lumathar, they're really good at target swapping. On Soulbinder, that means that you are going to parse 50 percentile and not actually be able to AoE if they fully charge their fire breath. And it's like the profile that they bring is valuable, and they occupy a specific niche. Ellie Shaman, I think that this is a specialization that is maybe a little bit too good at everything. But like realistically, it's like, there's some stuff that's maybe a little bit too good. There's, Balance Druid and Disc Priest that are maybe a little bit too bad. But I think in general, yeah, I do think the raid tuning is good. I actually think that he's right about that.
Dude, Ellie Shaman, I feel like we talk about sandbagging when we were talking about Moonkins earlier. This was the most ridiculous example of sandbagging I've ever seen with Ellie Shaman. Literally, the patch comes out, and then all of a sudden, like the prayers to the ancestral guidance have been answered, and all of a sudden, they were blessed upon with an Ellie build that no one has foreseen, and all of a sudden, it sims the top, and it's like, wait, what the hell? Like, it makes you wonder. Like,
this was known. This was known like a couple weeks going into the patch, and everybody like, I think it was kind of known that Ellie Shaman was going to be fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, it's fine because that's a class that's usually not very good. Like, I feel like I'm fine with classes like Feral or Ellie Shaman having their time in the sun because they get gutted down very quickly anyway. But
it's going to get nerfed. I mean, if you're just looking at the data right now, like it's so far ahead that Blizzard isn't going to allow it. I will say I hope they only nerf Farseer very specifically in raid, because they're like good in Mythic Plus, but they're not like that OP in Mythic Plus. And so I hope that they get like a well-targeted nerf. Obviously Destro Warlock needs a fucking nerf too. Like that spec is egregious, but I don't know what the fuck they should do about Arcane Mage. But like whatever. At the end of the day, I do think that the class tuning is pretty good, and I actually think that class tuning over the course of the War Within has been fairly solid. I know and if you're not happy with the class tuning in the War Within, that just means that you're probably never going to be happy with the class tuning in World of Warcraft. And I've kind of come to the opinion that the game is more fun whenever you're always playing something that's super OP. And so thus you should re-roll if you're really not having fun with how your class is performing.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that we saw was no Hunter in the Race to World First Demencius comp. How did you feel about that?
You know, I think that it's I think that's not indicative of like normal guilds. I think that Hunter can do Hunter. It's because Hunter's mark is not very valuable, and then Hunter is like okay on that fight, but not great, right? And it's that fight in its current iteration is you need very specific niche damage profiles at the entire time. Like at the very beginning of that fight, there were both Liquid and Echo were only playing one Arcane Mage until they made it to the P2 phase, where they realized that they had to carry this useless ass Arcane Mage through phase 1 just so they could carry them in P2. And it's like everything was on such a knife's edge in terms of like damage consideration. Hunter just doesn't make sense. And then also Hunter's mark isn't full value on that entire boss because of how P2 works. I think that's more of like a testament to Hunter being individually not very good. And that's okay, yeah, that's fine, I guess.
I mean, it's gonna happen, right? Like there's always gonna be classes. I know it feels bad, right? If you're listening to this and you've been playing Hunter for 10 years and you're hearing all of us say, yeah, class balance is so good except for Hunter, but we don't really care about Hunter. It's like, yeah, obviously there's gonna be some people that are left in the dust for some patches. And I think that our point sort of is like, while there were problems here or there on different patches with balance, if you look back historically at the last 5 expansions, I mean, the balance has been,
it's undeniably getting better. And if you still have a problem with it, genuinely you can re-roll to something that's more OP. Like you can either come to terms with the fact that your spec is not going to be very good and you can still just play it and have fun and not really worry about balance. You could re-roll to something that's OP, or you could genuinely quit the game. And it's like, those realistically all are your options. Like I know it's like kind of weird to be like, yeah, just quit the game. But like if you're so upset about class balance being as bad as it is, it's probably not getting better. And I think that Blizzard has stated time and time again that these are their tuning targets. And if you're not okay with them being their tuning targets, there's not really like you're not going to convince them to be better. Like I'm playing the first fucking spec on the patch. Like, please, like I know, like I can reroll to something else too. I'm considering my options after I'm done rating this tier about what I'm going to play, or maybe I just don't really push Mythic Plus. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I'm even going to do.
Tettles is holding out for those Boomkin buffs.
What is this tweet?
Really hoping.
It's going to get buffed. It's more of a matter of how much.
All right. Well, Tettles, I have something for you.
This tweet?
No.
The Monday bench.
Yeah, the breaking news patch notes here.
Boomkin nerfed 7%.
It's just Trinket Tuning right now.
God fucking damn it! Why do good things happen to bad people?
Oh my god!
What about me, man? What about me?
So we have Screams of a Forgotten Sky on death damage increased by 15%. Dude, I don't know how to say. The Projector, damage increased by 10%. The Mystic Lash, damage increased by 15%. Astral Antenna getting nerfed, crit reduced by 3%. Zap Cap, that trinket that's still maybe good now? I don't know. Damage increased by 15% and ICD reduced. Healing Distributor, healing increased by 20%. And Celia's getting a quality of life buff so that it lasts for an hour instead of 30 minutes.
It's insane that they just listed a bunch of trinkets that I actually have no idea what they are, and then they nerfed this trinket that was... It over-sims actual performance because you don't get the crit strike balls all the time.
What is the point of trinket tuning like this? I don't understand.
That is a good question.
It's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer for you.
The people are wondering.
I guess I just don't like. It's like, oh, so if I get some trinkets that aren't very good and I don't feel like farming better ones, or I'm unlucky, now my guy does 1%, like not even more damage. Like, I don't know, it just feels so pointless. Like, what is going on here? Like, unless there's like something. I mean, here's the thing though, right? Is you have this antenna trinket that sims Omega High and every single class can use, and everyone, like, to me, those are the problems. Like, if they're gonna do any sort of mid-patch trinket tuning, they should address the fact that they are making trinkets that are OP for every single spec in the game, and everyone just fights over them.
Well, they did nerf it.
You go into a Pug heroic raid, and you have to roll a literal 99 in order to win the trinket, or else you don't get it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that was the issue with the very rares that we talked about. Whenever we were like, thank God they removed them. It was like, why are there items that 20 out of 20 of your raiders need? Why is that a thing?
Trinket tuning is weird though, because like, I feel like people are not as excited for trinket tuning because it affects gearing decisions that have already been made.
Yeah. Oh, I hate the idea of changing gearing mid-patch. That's, like, one of the things that tilts me the most is, like, setting up stuff or, like, having some plan and, like, farming my loot and then having it be either invalidated or even just, like, feeling like it's invalidated or having to, like, "Okay, let me figure all this stuff out again." Like, don't do this.
Now, something I will say is, and this is something I never really understood, I understand why they can't base class tuning off of Sims, like, at all. Like, I understand why they shouldn't read class tuning off of Sims at all. Why can't they just look at Trinket Sims? Why is that not a thing? Like, everybody knew that Antenna was going to be OP. Like, it didn't take anybody who was, like, it didn't even take you 10 minutes to realize that every single guide writer is like, yeah, this shit's BIS. Like, this thing is BIS. Like, you click through every single Wowhead guide and it's Antenna at the top.
I just don't understand why they would do this, like, now versus just classes. I guess different teams, right? I think people would rather class tuning and, like, class tuning over other things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But probably different teams is my guess.
Yeah, this might be rewards. And
Let's
the
take
other
all the
ones.
people off the Trinket Tuning team and put them on the class tuning team. How about that?
Growl really understanding the inner workings of Blizzard live on the bench.
Bro, like, okay, with this I mean, I want to give them more credit, right? Like, I feel like I give Blizzard more credit than almost everybody else. Bro, this idea that Blizzard nerfed Aflock based off of the old tier set, I mean, really? Like, is this really true that they're looking at numbers? They had people playing on PTR and they had the numbers of PTR, but they're just looking at Warlocks playing the old 4-piece and then they're deciding tuning based off that. Like, really?
I mean, it's just weird because it's the third best Warlock spec.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. I mean, all signs point to that's what they did, but
I know.
Really?
I'm with you because it makes absolutely no fucking sense. Because if they had nerfed either of the other Warlock specs, everybody would have been like, all right, whatever. But then they nerf AF, which is like the third best Warlock spec that was only good week 1. And you're like, something's missing here.
I think historically, it's pretty known that Blizzard loves their live data. Any number of theory crafters could give feedback on something on PTR, like, this is over-simming, this is doing way too much damage, or this is severely undertuned. And Blizzard won't do something until they get their live data, and then they will do something about it. So I think that is pretty well established. To this level, though, I feel like this is... I think they've pretty done buffs and nerfs in alignment with the Warcraft log stat page recently.
Which is, you know what? As long as they keep making better tuned raid tiers than the ones that we had in Legion and BFA and Warlords and all these other expansions that were really poorly tuned, as long as it continues to be better, I don't care.
I wouldn't be surprised if they've changed the mantra from what they think the best, like, internal class tuning is and just gone for perception class tuning. Like, their goal is no longer to actually have a mathematically balanced game, but a perceived balanced game.
I think that's
I feel
probably...
like they do take that into take it into consideration, but I do think it's more about the numbers because I feel like there's, you know, especially, well, maybe this is only in raid, right? But in Mythic Plus or whatever, I feel like some classes definitely look better than others just because of the way that they do damage, like being able to do uncapped or whatever. Like, I think that's like, I feel like most people don't really understand exactly how damage profiles work, and like they'll see a class being like, this class is blasting, but it's like, you know, doing all the damage to the little tiny guys that effectively does nothing.
The top 3 specs for Mythic Plus right now are having Demon Hunter, Arcane Mage, and Assassination Rogue, and they all are like...
They all do the same thing.
They all do the same thing, yeah. They're these
so
they gods.
Need to nerf. They need to nerf Havoc and Assassination Rogue for sure.
Where the... You shut up.
I think they need to nerf Boom Kid too, Growl. I don't know about
fuck
you.
it, why not? May as well.
Yeah, fine with me. Fine with me.
This guy. But yeah,
where are we?
I think we were talking about how class tuning is. Did you have any opinion on how class tuning has fared this season, Squishy? Do you also agree that it's been pretty good?
I think compared to the raid, what the raid requires, it heavily incentivizes very specific niches more than in the past, which leads to a perceived imbalance of class tuning more than usual.
Yep.
Okay, sure.
I think class tuning itself like if you're looking at the raw numbers, I think there's issues like, let's say, Marksman Hunter Delta.
Oh yeah,
Like
top to bottom damage. Yeah, sure.
And super low rolls. Like my favorite thing about that is their average is like slightly less than, or their median is slightly less than their average. So they on most occasions will low roll. But the raid is just so melee unfriendly in a lot of cases, and requires such specific niches due to the current like damage tuning that like I think it exemplifies the class imbalance by a lot.
Soul Hunters aside, is this raid melee unfriendly? Melee just fucking suck. Don't they just not do damage?
I mean, melee Outlaw Rogue is one of the best 3 targets right now. If you look at like Warcraft logs, they are some of the top Soul Hunters damage.
Yeah.
The problem is with the way that strategies have developed and stuff like that, like there's a lot of time that they're just not on the boss.
Okay. Soul Hunters aside, yeah, I tend to agree that Soul Hunters is problematic for melee. Is any other boss problematic for melee?
Forge Weaver, you're running off for the soak. Like the split cleave between the pillars. Fractalus, you only have so many melee spots for the circles. Dimensius, I don't know how much this actually matters, but parries in phase 1.
That is garbage. Yeah, the fact that boss can parry and his hitbox is garbage. Yeah.
His model isn't centered on the platform, and so if you're ever at the side, you would be like right on the edge to hit him. And
I think the biggest issue with melee is that they all just fucking suck. Like that's literally it. Like for some reason, Blizzard is just like, you know what? This is the range tier. All of them are going to do god tier damage in melee. We're just undertuning you. Like Soul Hunters. Yeah, I mean that is Coven of Savara-esque, where lob all your melee, do not bring them, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like,
you might be right though.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, also on like Nexus King, I mean, it's not much, but like with the when you're setting up the stars in the last phase, you're running out of melee range for a good like 8 seconds.
You shouldn't. You're not supposed to on the Mythic strat.
You're not? Okay.
No, the Mythic strat, you're supposed to, with the way it's set up, you're supposed to have 100% melee uptime.
Interesting.
Which means that they should be better than range, because range aren't going to be able to cast while they're running. But like,
fair enough.
But like, I wouldn't like. I don't think they're better than range. I think that's just the concession of playing range. Is sometimes you cancel your cast.
Yeah.
But dude, everybody came into the tier thinking that Frost Decay was going to get stacked to the moon, and it just got nerfed a couple times.
Sure. But then they were brought back in for Dimensius because of the grip buff.
Yeah, I mean,
I saw you pull up this tweet earlier. I mean, to me, this is just so dumb. Like, basically, I mean, am I wrong here that in phase 2 where you grip those ads, like they literally designed that around, okay, well, everyone's talking about DK, so let's literally make sure that they need to have 2 DKs for the raid. Like, it's just,
I was gonna say that
our point isn't that like as a message to Blizzard, the point isn't that like we don't think you can do this. The point is like, okay, well, you remember now, but like, you know, eventually you're gonna forget, or like there's gonna be a tier where DK is like useless, right? Like, I don't know. I think
2 warlock gates are required.
Yeah, true. Dude, I was gonna say that exact same thing. GROWL, it felt like a conspiracy theory. Like DKs people were like clowning on Blizzard for like DKs in a raid buff. So what do? They made a fight where you need 2 DKs. Like,
well, right, of course, like that. No, 100%. That's what they did, because that's what they said they were going to do, right? They said grip is a raid buff. You're going to need DKs, right? And so they made a fight where you need DKs. I mean, it's just lame, right? Because I don't know. I mean, that's the whole problem with raid buffs in general, right? Is while it's a little bit of a safety net for balance that you guarantee you have your spot, like nobody wants to be brought to the raid to grip the ad from the other side of the thing. You want to be brought to the raid because you're doing big damn, and it's like,
that's right.
When you have these, like, you know, these safety nets or whatever, it sort of undermines the idea of balance, which isn't even that bad in the first place.
I like this new era of GROWL, the DPS one. He really gets us. but it's more like the issue with the DK raid buff discourse isn't the fact that you can't design a fight that requires 2 grips. The issue with it is that what do you do on the other 7 bosses that don't require a grip? Like,
or
you don't have to
raid.
Sorry, what?
Like Liberation of Undermine had 0 grips. You could not grip anything that looked like it could be gripped.
Yes, thank you. Yes, exactly. That's a perfect example. So then they don't have this. Okay, I think 60-minute raid buffs are really dumb, not very interactive, and not very fun, personally. But for the purposes of arguing against, like, how do we get DK brought to raid? The easiest solution is not delete raid buffs. The easiest solution is give DK raid buff, right?
Well, we saw that might have even solved the issue with Hunter raid buff not being brought this time.
Hunter raid buff is dog shit, and so is Evoker. Time Spiral is broken. Time Spiral is equally as broken as Stamp Roar was in Shadowlands, though, right? Like, it's good, but if Evoker is not good, you're not bringing it regardless. And Rogue got sat on Forge Weaver, and then it got brought back in. But it got sat for a lot of Forge Weaver.
Time Spiral is weird because with how movement intensive fights have gotten these days, the movement speed is invaluable. It's
That's
the
true.
only class that brings it.
Yeah.
And so it technically is like almost the Evoker raid buff, not Blessing of the Bronze.
See, the bronze is garbage.
Time Spiral, the difference in between classes of how much that you gain. Like, okay, as mage, you get a blink, right? That's like kind of nice. You don't get an extra blink charge. As a shaman, you get Spirit Walker's Grace, which is essentially like 10 plus seconds of movement speed, plus you can cast while moving. It's like one of the strongest cooldowns you can have in a high movement phase.
Yes.
If you're a Disc Priest, you get Life Grip.
Warlock gets Port, which is garbage too. Like,
okay, no, but that has use.
Port can be used sometimes. Rescript cannot, which is true. But
the idea, right, is like, we're not saying anything is wrong with Warlock Portal or Prescript, but in a moment where you press Time Spiral, your entire raid is zooming, and then you're a priest, and it's like, well, you do get another charge of Life Grip. The problem is you're way behind everybody in the raid, and no one wants to be near where you are anyway.
The issue with Warlock Port too is, like, you would need to be able to port. You would need the requirement to be that you have to port twice for something, which was useful on Razageth and it's useful on Dimensius, but it's never useful anywhere else because your port is a static location, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. I think that I actually have been having a lot of fun. I mean, are you guys enjoying the raid? I feel like this raid has actually been really fun to play.
We're sort of ending the honeymoon period of the patch for me. Like, I've been basically playing nonstop. It's fun to gear alts. It's fun to do M+. I could heal keys. I can do like low vault keys. I can, try and push a little bit with my guys that are more geared. We're doing the fun raid fights, the raid fights that take less than a day or maybe about a day. Everything about what's happened so far is the fun part. Then we get to see how the patch really sort of sets in when it's like, okay, we're doing the really giga hard bosses. We're, doing push keys and seeing that sort of thing. But overall, oh yeah, I've been having a blast.
Yeah.
I love the first couple weeks of the patch.
Okay.
I think for me, I was going to say just quickly, for me, like, I'm having a lot of fun. I like the Soul Hunters fight as a Dev Evoker, where I do nothing but get to spam Pyre the entire time. It's a blast. I've never done that raid encounter before, so yeah, I'm having fun.
You should play Aug Evoker. Use your brain. Use your brain more.
Absolutely fucking not.
All right. GROWL, I have a question about healers in Mythic Plus. What do you think is better between Resto Shaman and Resto Druid right now?
Ooh, so I think overall, like, if you were to take everything in a vacuum and just look at the healing, I think Druid is better. Druid has a more flexible, like, kit. You can sort of like do bigger, faster heals. You can like ramp a little better. You can cast while moving better. Not a whole lot. Like, Shaman is still a good healer. The big difference though is the utility kit that those classes bring, namely their raid buffs, right? So I mean, if you're playing with a bunch of melee classes, especially if you don't have a Bloodlust, like having a Resto Shaman who brings Bloodlust, who brings an extra kick and or a better kick, I guess. And I guess Druid's kick is kind of good. Let's say mostly we're talking about the raid buff and Bloodlust when we talk about Shaman. And then with Druid, we sort of are thinking about their being able to dispel more things, being able to have like the Druid utility like Ursul's and Soothe and stuff, and then also Mark of the Wild. I think it'll depend a lot on the comp, but I think we'll see people playing both.
I wouldn't be shocked if we end up seeing like Rogue plus Havoc, Demon Hunter plus Prot Warrior be the main building blocks of like what is the meta comp this season, which it's interesting because what you said about Druid was my read about Druid on the PTR, but if the comp is Prot Warrior, Rogue, Havoc, Demon Hunter, where the hell are we getting Lust if it's not from a Resto Shaman, right?
Exactly. Like, I think there's definitely room to like, even if you're playing like, it's pretty similar to a meta comp, right? Like, let's just assume that that's the meta comp.
Yeah,
you could play Ass Rogue, Havoc, some whatever class with Lust, right? Like it might not be ideal whether it's like an enhanced
I
or
think
an
sub is
LE
actually
or a
pretty good too,
mage.
but yeah, assassination also solid.
Like basically any class with Lust and then bringing a druid or bringing a druid healer along, I think is totally fine.
Yeah.
But I do sort of see that line of like, well, if you have Ass Rogue and Havoc, there's not a lot of Lust classes that fit in with those two that well. Like I think Pharaoh actually kind of fits in pretty well with those classes and also brings your druid stuff and Mark of the Wild.
I was thinking they were gonna play with like a DK maybe, but yeah.
Or a DK as well, but yeah, again, you need the Lust. So that's sort of what I think. I'd have to give the edge to Druid slightly, but based off of what DPS are good, I would give the edge to Shaman.
I'm really interested in seeing if there's going to be like a full Wizard comp with Arcane Mage, Ellie Shaman, Dev Evoker. I think that talking about like weird speculative compositions, I feel like there's some triple Wizard comp with those three that is actually quite good.
We'll see. I feel like at the end of last patch, there was sort of this, like people started to slowly realize how good Fizz comp was to the point where even pugs would be like, oh, Fizz comp pug, and you wouldn't even be inviting mages or boomkins or whatever, even though that's all everyone ran in MDI.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if I would say Fizz classes are even better relative to the other classes than they are now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the top teams going right away to Fizz comps. Like at least one thing I'm noticing is on my friends list, some of the healers, they're making sure they're gearing their Ellie Shaman. Like I'm seeing people on their rogues and I'm seeing people on their Prot Warriors relative to last season. Whereas last season, like it was 100% Disc Priest, Vengeance, Demon Hunter across the board for everybody. And so like it was a little bit harder to make work. I think people will have Fizz comp ready this season.
I think Warrior Tank is like insane currently. Like just the damage that they deal is a lot of damage. It is like 20% more damage than the other tanks, something 10% more damage minimum. Like that spec is insanely good, which makes me think like, okay, yeah, you would definitely play through the Warrior Tank. They're good. They're really good. So I wouldn't be shocked if that kind of is where we land. In other news, GROWL, what have you been thinking about the lever system? Because I feel like you and I were vindicated about our takes on the lever system a few weeks ago.
Oh man, the lever system.
I just remember asking, who is this for? And now we see the lever system get introduced, and I was like, yes, who is this for?
So we talked about this on the last pod. We were like, where is the lever system? And I brought up everyone basically said that they scrapped it or that it's gone, but I brought up the idea that they wanted some data. It's also possible that, in the line of Blizzard maybe is just way more clueless than I think. Maybe they just forgot and they're listening to their podcast. They're listening to their favorite podcast, The Bench, and they hear us bring it up and like, oh, I don't believe that. Forgot about that.
I don't believe that.
I know, but it's a really, really funny theory. But it's interesting. So far I've had 0 negative experiences pugging either way. I haven't been quote unquote held hostage, or I haven't had a situation where like I have a lever and it ruins my key. So my personal experience has been good. I feel like there's a little bit of an art in picking the team, and I understand that I have higher IO and I play more meta classes, so I have an easier time picking people, but I was thinking about that this morning when I was making a group for my Ratty Shaman to try and get a weekly 10. I feel like I know when groups are going to go well and who's going to be good and who's not and who to invite. Like, maybe just because I'm old and I've been around the internet for 20 years and I just like can pick up these things easier than other people. But I just very rarely have very negative experiences in M+ like ever. So I understand that like in the trenches, there are like, I don't know, some lever issues or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Have you guys had any run-ins with the system whatsoever?
No, I haven't had it. I don't even think I've abandoned the key yet this season. It's one of those things that I think that levers aren't a thing even in like weekly 10s. Like levers only start to become a thing whenever you actually start to push keys at all, right? Where most of the time people in a 10, like I was doing a 10 earlier, the 10 Halls of Atonement, we wiped twice. Nobody even threw up an abandoned vote because everybody kind of knows that everybody's there for gear and we're just trying to complete the key regardless.
I agree.
I think for like, I don't pug, so this is not like relevant, but from what I've seen online, this is the case of like, when you see the post, like I got kicked for a random dungeon. It's like the 1 in 100, 500, 1 in 1,000, like bad experience that makes its way to
No. Okay, when I played
No?
Mists of Pandaria Classic, I got fucking kicked 4 separate times from dungeons and got a 30-minute timeout.
Okay,
right?
those people.
Those mob
listen.
classic players are the most toxic shitheads I've ever played with, and that's a completely problematic system. Sorry, continue.
Those are not people of retail. Those are people of classic. They're different.
What an interjection that was. No, like I feel like it's just a small thing. Like, yeah, did I think that it comes down to, did this system make anything better? Does having this system actually improve or incentivize people who were going to leave and AFK out of you, or to, like, break your key and hearth out? I don't think it did shit. I think the people who already were going to do that now just AFK and grief your group even harder. Like, it's like League of Legends. Most people have played League of Legends probably. Especially early, you in WoW, you have to wait 5 minutes before you can put up an event about. In League, it was 15. And so, like, sitting there, you can't leave for that amount of time. That's when it causes issues. People are going to sit there and they are forced to stick together when they don't want to be there, so things start going off in chat.
Well, also, there's so many times where you just wipe to the first pull of Priory of the Sacred Flame and the key's over. Like, there's no recovering. We just lost our bloodlust and all of our cooldowns. We're like, this key's done. I'm sorry. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't FF for 4 minutes. Am I really gonna AFK? No, you leave.
Yeah.
So there's always gonna be problem situations. It just depends on what the Blizzard enforced rule is, right? So, like, before, the problem was obviously that people could leave keys, right? There was nothing that stopped them. People could just leave whenever they wanted. It's not going to happen a ton, but it will happen sometimes. And when people leave, that's like, okay, this is the problem. Now we're sort of in the reverse world, right? Where you can't leave keys or else you're going to get this lever mark. And I guess you might not care about it. But now the problem is like, well, let's say you're in a key and there's 2 people that are friends and they're like, hey, fuck you, buddy. I'm just going to sit here and not abandon this key and just waste your time. And, like, look, I get it. Like, I am a chronically online person and somehow you're such a big loser that your time is less valuable than mine and you're just going to sit here and waste my time. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, that also doesn't happen that often either, right? Like, that's not going to be something where you're going to run into every key. I think, my personal opinion, and I hate to be toxic about this because I know there are already people in the comments writing, this happens all the time, blah, 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 blah. I personally think that if you're somebody who runs into, like, toxic people very, very, very often, you're either toxic or you're just doing it on purpose and not trying to actually, like, sift through people. I mean, am I wrong? You guys are laughing.
No, you're not.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
It's just it's a very blunt way of telling this.
Well, hold on. Well, and let me clarify too. I'm not saying that you're toxic, but, like, to sifting through people and, like, using your brain, whether or not you start a key, is, like, something you need to do. So there's this one guy, I brought him up a couple times on the pod, One Azeroth TV. He is renowned for never leaving a key, never wanting to leave a key. He loves this new system, right? He wants to see every single lever smitten down off of Azeroth, right? But here's the problem with him is, he might disagree with this, but I personally think he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't try and sift through people. If anything, he wants to go into the trenches and get in these groups with these toxic people for content. Like, he's not trying to avoid the shitheads. Like, he's just in there. And as both of us who have made Zero to Hero series understands, those can be your most viewed, best situations, right? Sometimes you want to have some content in your group, right? But I see so often when I'm watching either him or other people where, like, there's a red flag right away. Like, a huge red flag, 2 huge red flags that are super obvious, right? Somebody with a really, really toxic name that, when you see that guy, that if you named your character that, you're probably a shithead. Or somebody who's, like, really micromanagey and bossy at, like, the very start of the key. Like, if you haven't even loaded in and the guy's like, okay, we're going to do this and make sure you have this talent and do this and do blah, 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 blah. And he just keeps typing. It's like, bro, it's a 10. Like, relax. That's a huge red flag. Get out of that key, right? Like, you just have to use your brain and, like, think about what groups you join and whether or not you enter a keystone with people. And I think you don't actually have that big of an issue.
All right. I have something that's a very interesting question for you, GROWL. I got this DM. I'm really interested in your thoughts here. I have a little bit of additional information to add after I read this. So the DM goes, so I joined this guild group to do a 14 Priory. The mage dies multiple times on the cathedral pull, and it's a deplete. So I end up voting to abandon, but they vote to finish. So for context, it's not his guild. It is a guild. It's like the group is 4 other people that are in a guild together. So he votes to abandon. They vote to finish. I don't want to finish a depleted 14. The guy says he needs the trinket. The mage here in question says that he needs the trinket. So I just sit AFK and don't leave because I don't want the deserter. Am I the asshole? Also okay, I asked him this after the fact. I said you do recognize that you don't just get the deserter debuff after only 1 attempt, right? He was unaware of this. But do you think he's the asshole here for AFK after they voted no on the deserter for a 14 that was depleted?
Yeah.
You think he's the asshole?
Yeah. You're playing with 4 other people and they want okay, here and let me clarify something about the system. So if the timer's out, you can leave, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so, yes.
So in my opinion, if you join a group and they are a group of people, so before, in my opinion, if you join a group for a plus 14, the implied thing is that you're doing it for score. And before, if you're doing a 14 and you leave a key because it's depleted, I mean, it's whatever, right? Because it's implied you're doing it for score, because why you're doing a 14 for gear. Now Blizzard has set it in place where now the implied thing is every single group is meant for completion unless you say otherwise. So in my opinion, like if you're only there for score and you're gonna bounce, like you either need to play with people that are like-minded or clarify that before the key. And they, especially this early in the season, if they say, hey, like I need the trinket, can we finish this? And you just literally AFK instead of playing the game, like, because you can't leave, right? You're just sitting there. I mean, in my opinion, yeah, you're an asshole.
I actually think that he's not the asshole here. I think that, like, if they really wanted to get the mage a trinket, they should have just done a lower level key. Like, I understand farming for gear earlier on, but listing a key as a 14 in my mind is exactly kind of what you said. It's just them saying that they're trying to push for score, and then halfway through being like, no, you who are here only for score, you should finish this key with us because our mage wants this trinket. It's like, no, this is not the contract that I signed up for. I signed up for us to all give our all and an honest attempt to try to tie this 14 for score for each of us. And then you're telling me that I have to stay to try to help this mage get a trinket? No, I'm leaving.
Well, okay, let's remove. So you think let's remove the lever system, right? Let's say that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You think if you join a pug and then they deplete the key and you hearth out of the key, right? And then they say, hey, Tuttles, we really want this trinket. Can you come back and help us finish this? I don't really want a 13 priory. And you're like, nah, and you just leave. I think you were an asshole back then too.
I think you're absolutely in your right to leave. I think you're absolutely in your right to leave. That's kind of the issue with LFG. This is the problem with LFG, is that people have misaligned goals. This is what you get whenever you join an LFG group.
Sure, and that's why, in my opinion, a better and I said this before, a better implementation of this system is a flag, right? Like you flag it at the beginning of the key. You say, hey, levers will be punished when we hit, and everyone hits accept, and then you go in, and then levers will be punished, right? And you can even apply a harsher punishment to that then too, because everybody literally agreed at the start of it.
Yeah, sure.
So I agree with you that there's a better system in play here, but I don't know. I think early in a season, if your group asks to, and again, we're reading this and assuming unprovoked, right? Like, let's say I'm healing a guild group and we died at the cathedral pole because my monkey mage doesn't press any buttons and my tank sucks or whatever, and then they're like, hey, fuck you, healer, press your buttons, you suck. Hey, I thought you were good.
Well, yeah,
if someone does that, yeah, I'm AFK. Like, I'm permanently AFK. Like, I'm probably talking shit, like, but that's different, right? This is showing that, okay, nothing happened. You literally just were in a key, and it's not even like you wiped 3 times at the beginning. Like, you just wiped at the cathedral pole. You're literally right next to the respawn, right? Like, this is probably going to take at most like 5 or 10 extra minutes than the key would take.
This is what I see right here. It's, I don't want to finish a depleted 14. The guy says he needs the trinket. Why the fuck would you care about this guy though, right? Like, you're there to try to get score. Your objective for the dungeon has been removed. You didn't sign up to do a completion run, but then you just got held hostage by four people in a guild. I would have left. I would have left.
I mean, my personal opinion, I kind of think they are both have a little bit of asshole nature here. Like, leaving in a key that's already going if somebody's asking you, I understand it. It's up to you to decide. There's a little bit of like, maybe you should finish it because you signed up. But I do think that part of it is also on the guild group for not clarifying that they are completing this. Because I do think any key above 12 is automatically assumed to be for score. And so, like, I kind of think both sides have improvements and things that they need to improve on here, because they just didn't communicate. Like GROWL said, one side thought this was going to be for score, the other side thought this was going to be for completion.
Sort of, but I think that statement of, okay, it's a high key, now it's assumed that you're not completing it, was the case before, but now that the Blizzard system enforces that, like, people are treating this as if this is some sort of loophole where, like, these 4 people are abusing this one person, but it's literally 4 people that are just in a dungeon trying to play the video game and they don't want their party member to leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, we're taking at face value what was given to us here, and it's like, if they just want to play the game, and, like, again, you have the option, right? Like, let's say it's just an absolute slaughter, right? Let's say you have a healer and he's just such a stinking pile of dog shit that he'll never kill the boss. Well, then you wipe to it a couple times, the timer's over, and then you leave, right? Like, this isn't even saying that, oh, I'm guaranteed to finish out this key no matter what. This is just, hey, can you at least play the video game for the timer that you said you would for the priory? And then, hey, maybe if the timer's over and we're depleted or whatever, right?
I mean, what if it like is depleted? What if we haven't even pulled the second boss and it's like 19 or 20 minutes, and you know this timer in priority, this shit is completely fucking toast, right?
I also think that people I will say
that people overleave dungeons that are still completable.
Well,
people tend to do that.
What I'm interested in, I would be really interested to hear Farfa's opinion about this, by the way, about the whole, I don't have as much time to play and I don't play as super serious. How do I view this situation? Because what I feel like is, like, again, I'm just going to sound toxic here, but hopefully people don't take this the wrong way. If you're progging a 14 for score, you probably have a lot of things that you can do to improve your gameplay. And why not just sit in the key for 10 more minutes and improve, like, play the game? Like, is this really, like, you know what I mean? Like, is this really that bad of a situation that you have to sit there for an extra 5 minutes that you expected? And it's not like you're sitting there, like, doing something miserable, right? Like, you're literally playing the same dungeon you signed up for, and it's only, like, you know, the potential IO rewards that you're not gaining.
I guess the argument
can we play the game for fun.
I guess the argument is I don't want to finish the depleted 14, right? Like, I guess that's like I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying about. I do kind of wish that more people just kind of played the game for fun and were, like, purely rewards driven. But I do think the argument of I don't want to finish a depleted 14 is also a valid response to that kind of thing.
Like this guy,
why would I finish a depleted 14? Like, why do I don't want to do that?
This guy is well within his right to be like, these people suck, this is so annoying, what a waste of my time. But, like, okay, do you know how many Dota games that I've played where I felt that way? Like, dude, that was every other fucking game when I soloed. It was like, why are these idiots not forfeiting? Like, how is it that you just throw the fucking game and you're just feeding, and then at the same time you're not gonna quit? Like, what is wrong with you, right? Like, but at the same time, like, you pressed join group, you signed up to be here for 30 minutes. Like, you can't pretend like, oh no, now it's, you know, like, why not just play the game for the 30 minutes that you said you were going to?
I mean, realistically, I don't think you're wrong, GROWL. I think the biggest thing for me is just, like, what I would focus on this situation is, you say it's implied that the key was supposed to be done for completion. I don't know that that is the case anymore. And I think it's kind of just, like, on the guild group to be like, what is this for? And on this guy to be like, is this for completion? Like, communication could just definitely be improved, which is also why I think all of us would advocate for better LFG.
Yep.
100%
agree.
I think we're all on that one.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting community situation. You know, like, before, I basically said it's on the community if you want to finish the key. If you want to finish the key, you have to specify that. You have to say that, right? Now it's kind of the role is reversed, right? Now, if you're somebody who's literally only playing for score and you don't give a fuck about even practicing the key that you don't have time, well, then maybe that's on you to specify. You know, maybe you use, you know, people start using the tag in time or whatever, and then it's sort of implied that, like, okay, well, if you're doing an in-time key and then you're holding it hostage, you're the asshole, which, you know, but otherwise, like, you just assume that if nothing else that people might want to finish the key.
I think that this conversation has opened my mind a little bit to, like, who you believe might be in the wrong here is based on what you think is implied whenever you're signing up for the group. Like, for me, whenever I view this, I view signing up for a 14, to me, it is implied that that is a going for score run, that you have no real obligation to do that dungeon for completion for the other remaining members of that party if score is no longer achievable for you. But like I do understand how you can argue that the implication now with the lever system is that every run is for completion, but I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do see where you're coming from with it.
Well, also another thing that hasn't really been discussed is the idea that the key holder is putting, like, the key holder is the only one that's putting anything at risk, right? Like everyone else is
Yeah,
just,
of course.
okay, well, they're here to show up, right? And so like now if you have a little bit more power as a key holder, right? Like if you have a priory, like the only thing worse than having a 14 priory is having a 13 priory, right? And it's like now if you're signing up for these keys and you're just spam applying to priories, just hoping for the god run or whatever, like now you have to maybe think about that, or maybe like try it's just interesting. It's definitely different. It's something different.
In my mind, if they're actually just doing this for gear, 14 priory out of time is almost no different than 13 priory, whatever you mark it. All right,
but then you have to play with shittier players.
That's valid. Honestly, that's it. I have no rebuttal to that. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Jang be out in the streets. I learned this all too well, that like it was the nature of providers, right? Like you need to get a 19 priory. You finally get your 19 priory. You get one shot at it, and then you deplete it, and now you're in the trenches. Now you have an 18 priory, and so now you're the provider with the 18 resilient priory, and you have all the other little ducklings lining up to join your key to try and do your priory. And it's like, I don't know. I personally like hated that gameplay loop, and I thought it was kind of bad. And so this is a interesting one of like, okay, well, you guys are gonna help me re-roll if you guys want a shot at my priory.
Okay, which of these links do you want me to pull up?
They're all very different. But is there anything else on this topic before we like move on or anything like that? Because I want to talk about
nice. We got more lever ones. Okay, good.
Yeah. So the lever stuff, like you just talked about the high key stuff. Some of the stuff that I've seen on the lower key stuff, which I think this was more what it was intended to be for, is there seems to be a trend right now where people will advertise any key as a 10 and then put in a lower key, because then people are forced to do that key or they risk getting lever status. So like you list your Dawnbreaker 6 as a Dawnbreaker 10, you get everybody in there, and then you queue up the 6, and everybody's like, what the fuck is a 6? But then they can't leave.
This is actually so fucking grief. I would be infuriated if this happened to me.
Yeah, so I mean, you're definitely the asshole if you do this.
Yeah.
Again, like
there's no debate.
No, but this is apparently like a little more common than like having, AFK levers and stuff like that. So when you get into a key, like I think Bigwigs does it by default now, where it shows you who has keys in the dungeon you're in. Make sure it's actually what you signed up for, because this is a thing that I've heard from a couple people now.
Yeah, again, I mean, I just want to keep harping on this, and I'm not trying to like shit talk Blizzard too much here, but it just seems like such poor implementation of the system, right? Like, I just go back to the same thing I've always said over and over again. What if there was some flag opt-in thing at the start of the dungeon where it's like, okay, your group leader is putting in a +10 Dawnbreaker and he wants levers protection to be enforced. Do you agree? And it's like, well, if he does that and he puts in an 8 and you have this dialogue box that comes up on your screen that says it's an 8, it's like, well, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that, right? It's a really, really weird scenario. Like, that's actually something that I didn't foresee, the idea that people would troll to put in a different key. Because, like, okay, I notably have a video that kind of popped off that I did in Shadowlands where I joined a weekly 15 key, and instead of letting them put their key in, I put in a +26. And in this current system, that would be like very interesting if that happens, right? Because all I need is one other person in that group to vote no, and they're stuck there. They're stuck there in a +26 key.
And that's what this one on the left that Tettles has here is if the key holder and one other person are aligned, they can hold 3 other people hostage. Which is interesting because the key holder votes counts as 2. The other person will count as 1. That's exactly half, and therefore the vote will never pass.
Now, what I will say is that this is unlikely to happen. Like, this might happen to you 1 in every 100 dungeons. The problem is it should never happen, right? Like, that is kind of the biggest issue with this. Even though it is rare, fact that bad actors can do shit like this is annoying. And it's like, especially, it doesn't make you feel better that you know this probably won't happen to me again this season just because it happened to me once.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you mentioned is like you can leave the key without needing to /abandon, which results in people running it down mid.
Yep.
To reduce the timer down so that they can leave without penalty.
So what I will say is you don't get marked as a leaver if you leave one dungeon. You have to be like a repeat offender. You have to be like leaving, let's say 10 dungeons or something like that in a short period of time without completing very much to actually get marked as a leaver. It's not something that, like, dude, in both of these situations, I would have left. Like, this shit happens to me, dude. Like, even that other situation where if I feel like the key is completely chalked and I don't want to be there anymore, and they're like, our mage needs the trinket, and I really don't want to play that out because I feel like I didn't sign up for that, I'm just leaving. Like, I'm not even AFKing. I'm just out of there because I know that I'm going to complete enough dungeons to where it's not going to matter. I'm not going to get the flag, and even if I do get the flag, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's another big a good part about this is, yeah, it feels a little weird when the system is new because people don't quite know their bounds. But like, bro, I mean, I just keep pointing to Dota 2 because that's where my experience is. Dude, I had like such a good behavior score in Dota. Like I was like, I was never in low priority queues or whatever. Bro, I would leave games, if someone's on my team like being a shithead or like people are being mean or like being racist in voice chat or like, dude, I'm just leaving. Like, I don't care. Like, yeah, I get a leaver. Like I play this game and I play a bunch of dungeons and it knows that I'm an outstanding citizen and I don't deserve to be marked as a leaver.
Yeah.
Like if you're somebody, again, like it goes back to my original point where like, if you're constantly in these groups where some guy is calling you a dog and then another guy's like stay in tens where you belong, you're hard stuck 2.6K. Like if this is every group that you're playing in, like, I'm sorry, but maybe, and I'm not saying that everybody sucks or is toxic, but like you just put a little bit of effort into like looking at the people that you're playing with, and it's like,
yeah,
I think that in my opinion, I would be interested, like, if you ever get into these situations, just leave. You
guys are
just
like you guys are like both like NPCs from review LFG dungeons, right? Where you just don't say anything and then you just leave at the end of the dungeon whenever the run's over. I feel I never type.
I would love to not be an NPC, but I think everyone else is an NPC, and I don't really want to like. I don't know. Like, I feel like
it's like making small talk in an elevator.
Well, like, okay, I joined a group earlier today where I was an NPC, right? Where some guy, I joined the group and someone was like, "Oh, wow, you're a streamer," and it's like, yeah, I stream. Like, are they saying that in a good way or a bad way? Like, why are we talking about this? Like, imagine if I joined a group and like, "Oh, you're a dentist." Like, that's weird. Like, how is this conversation supposed to continue? Or another weird one is like, "Are you the real GROWL?" It's like, yep, it's me. I'm GROWL. Like, surprise! Like, I just feel like people often like make things very weird or awkward, and it's like, dude, a lot of times last season I would join voice comms, and like sometimes you run into someone really funny and you like shoot the shit the whole time in the key, right? But very often everyone else is an NPC. Like, and then the conversations that do happen in the key are just like the ones in the screenshot of just calling someone a dog or whatever. Like, I mean, I played one key where I was doing a Dawnbreaker. I was farming it for the ring, and we had a healer who very clearly was not meant to be in that key at that time. And like, we have some Ret Paladin just like trashing him in the chat the whole time. Meanwhile, the Ret Paladin's like bottom fragging, like barely ahead of the tank, but it's just like mad that he has to press defensive buttons. And I'm just like, dude, shut up. Like, we're literally like 5 minutes ahead of this key anyway. Like, why are you so angry? Like, what is your problem to like shit talk this healer? Like, yeah, the guy fucking sucks, but who cares? Like, just get done with the key. Like, don't even pretend like you're carrying this.
I had somebody like that.
Doubling your damage.
I had somebody like that in my zero to here where I'm like, this guy's fucking lost.
The best thing to do in Pugs, honestly, is not to speak, because the second you speak, usually somebody's going to call you out for something that is completely unrelated and just flat out wrong, and it sucks that that's the way that life is, but it seems to be the way life is.
They are lost. Do not listen to those people.
They'll say something completely wrong, like how a mechanic works is not how the mechanic works at all, or something like that.
I would say the best advice that I could give people in regard to this whole thing is, don't take things so serious. Like, we're in a situation now where you might get stuck in a key. You might have to finish a key you don't want to. Like, don't be so tied up in the results of every key. Oh, we need to time this. Oh, I need score. Like, oh, just have fun, you know, like we joke around because, oh, we're doing 0 to hero, so having a troll group is funny, but like there's no reason that you can't have that mindset either. Like, even if you're just playing on your own, you're not streaming, like just find joy, like have a laugh out of the people in your group being ridiculous. Like if some guy calls you a dog, like there's no reason to be like opening up the interrupts. Well, actually, I have double your interrupts and you're trolling and blah blah blah. Just laugh at him, be like, all right, yeah, I'm a Doberman. Like, yeah, woof, buddy. Like, you know, just have fun in these keys. Like, don't take things so serious. Like, if you have to stay in a key because they want to finish it, like, I don't know, just finish it. Mess around with some, you know, do the Jangbi surge and confuse all your cooldowns and see if it's good. Like, try something. Who knows, right? Like, and then just see. And then if they're really that dumb, then just leave the key after 10 minutes. And is that really the worst thing in the world? Like, you messed around in a keystone for 10 minutes?
GROWL joins every LFG group with Meowdy.
Now, yeah, I'm a Doberman wolf, buddy. It's a good line. All right. Squishy, did you go to Gamescom?
I did not.
Okay. There's a lot of midnight information. Where do we want to start? I guess the first topic is the way information leaked. What did you mean with this?
Dude, people are pissed at this. I don't know if you guys share it, but like the way this reveal of the expansion happened has so many people mad. Like, I think it was Thursday. No, what day was it? Yeah, it was Thursday afternoon. They released the cinematic and then didn't share anything about the expansion. And then Blizzard released the embargo when the cinematic dropped, which means all the information that was coming out on the Saturday panel dropped right then. And the stuff was less than stellar. So immediately, like as part of Wowhead, we released information about the third Demon Hunter spec, the Heronir allied race, and like transmog stuff right away. Blizzard made no mention of this. Icy Veins did the same thing. A bunch of other sites did the same thing. And people were like, where did this information come from? Because unlike BlizzCon, or like, I think they announced Legion at Gamescom, they went through like at Legion, you know, you're gonna have the Demon Hunter class, and you're gonna be going to these zones, and you're gonna be, you know, fighting these bosses, and like they may not have done a deep dive on what those features were, but they at least mentioned them. The Gamescom panel didn't have that. They just had the cinematic.
Why was the Gamescom stuff not streamed, by the way?
Oh god, and that was the other thing. Yeah, so there were two panels. Neither of them were streamed live, and the VODs went up about 10 hours later. And so I was watching live social, like content creators' tweets who were live tweeting the thing to get information. And the second one, Mr. GM was like bootleg live streaming the panel on like 360p or something.
On
and
X.
I felt like I was yeah. And I was just sitting there like, I feel like I'm torrenting a bootleg sports stream right now to watch this panel. What is going on? Oh god. So yeah,
it was really weird. I mean, so one thing that you didn't mention. Now, if you're somebody who plays lots of games, you probably understand what Gamescom is, and you're like, you know, looking forward to seeing all the other games too. A lot of people that play WoW are just WoW mains, and they just, you know, are obsessed with WoW and they don't care about anything else. And so when they're told, oh, midnight information is coming out at Gamescom at 1 p.m., and then they tune into 1 p.m. and it's like, just kidding, Black Ops 17. And then it's just like, it goes cinematic after cinematic for like an hour and a half of like all these other games. And like, I was seeing, because I was streaming and also a couple other people were streaming, I was just watching the chat get more and more tilted as they just like not talk about WoW. Then they finally get to WoW and they just show a cinematic, and then that's it. And then everyone's like, was so disappointed. I'm like, I told you guys this is it. So then you know, there was the creator embargo or whatever. So there were some people that knew that there was stuff that was going to be announced. I saw that stuff, but I wasn't going to talk about it, right? Because I assumed there was going to be some panel or something. And then all of a sudden, everyone in my chat is just like, Void Demon Hunter confirmed. And they just start spewing all the information that I thought was secret. And I'm like, all right, I guess this is public now. I guess I'm just going to put all this in a notepad file and just start reading it to you on stream because I don't even know where this is. And it's like, yeah, it was such a weird, I don't know. I mean, I think if you're like a mega multi-gamer and you know, you have consoles and you're familiar with all the games, it was a cool event. But I think a lot of people who are like mostly WoW-only gamers were probably like turned off by the way everything worked out.
I think they also just kind of neglected to give people a lot of the information that they were looking for. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh my god, Void Demon Hunter's confirmed, you know, Hair and Air allied race. That's like at a surface, you know generally what you need to know from that, from just knowing it exists. But like, I think the Unholy DKs found out that they were potentially getting a class rework from like a single screenshot. There was some random mention of Apex talents, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, and more talent points mentioned in like some interview from I think like I don't remember what site it was, unfortunately, but there's just so much information that just came piecemeal over the next couple days just from a random interview, that it was just so odd. There was not one place that a casual WoW player could go to that was just like, here's what you want to know. Here's what the raid is. Here's the talents coming. You know, here's what to get hyped for. Instead, it was like you get you get drip fed it. Like every couple hours, there's like one piece of new information.
The embargo was just way too early too.
Oh, the embargo should have been like 2 days.
2 days later, yeah, exactly. Like that was ridiculous. They like spoiled themselves. That was like strange.
It was really odd. It was odd.
In other news, though, I did think a lot of stuff that they actually announced was fairly cool, including, did you guys see this UI add-on update stuff that they talked about?
I did.
Oh my god, this was actually on the Warcraft like main YouTube channel, where they stated that nameplates are going to get changed to something similar that you're seeing on screen here, which thank God nameplates in WoW are garbage. And then they were saying that there's going to be boss mods and damage meters baked into the base game, and they use the term server side to describe the damage meter, which I'm hoping that it works with Augavoker, but I have a suspicion that it won't.
The damage meters is really interesting because the one question that I had was, there's a lot of custom stuff that details users use to filter out a bunch of unnecessary damage. While you could go full extreme and remove pad adds from like a Boomkin's damage,
I would never do that thing. I would never do that, Your Honor.
You know, some people like to not include spell reflect damage or not include boss mechanics which deal damage, like the Stellar Cores on Dimensius. That shows up on, you know, like, is that going to show on Blizzard's damage meters? Like, there's a bunch of boss mechanics that usually deal damage, like the bikes on Vexy. If that shows on details, everybody's going to be going for those bikes, you know?
Does that not show up on details normally?
Oh, it does.
Well,
yeah, my opinion, I think that's maybe true for a small percentage of people, but I think 99 point whatever percent of people do not edit their details and like filter out spells or whatever. Like, I think this is just an overall win. Also, keep in mind that like it is possible that details still exist, right? So the big thing, and I think a huge W, Tunnels mentioned that it's calculated server side, which means that you don't need an add-on now running in your background calculating everything. The game is going to be giving you this information. So again, it's still 100% possible that you have details and add-on. The game gives you all the information that it needs, and then you can still, you know, if you wanted to customize it or put on a different background or what,
put a skin on it or something.
They're talking about the computational part of it, but again, if you wanted to filter out damage events or make it look a certain way, I'm sure that function out. I guess I don't want to say I'm sure, but it should still all be there. The only thing is now you don't have to download details if you don't want to, and the calculations are being done server side, so it should be somewhat of a load off of your, you know, add-on. Not that it's going to be huge, but it's not zero.
Is Plater getting deleted, and are boss mods getting removed from the game? I guess is a different question.
I mean, without fail, that's where they're going. The question is when.
Yeah.
Like, I was
going to say, I think Plater and boss mods are a little bit different because those are involving calculations, right? Like talking about Plater scripts, like dude, the shit that Dorky's been cooking up now, like the scripts and stuff that he's been doing and like thinking about, like, you know, just random different things that you wouldn't even think to do, but that makes your life easier. Like there's isn't there dumb shit with Moonkin now where like you can like press a button and it like hides nameplates that you don't have Moonfire, and so you like press the button and then you like mouse over Moonfire everything and the nameplates like disappear, and like useful for there's like a ton of stuff that people are doing with nameplates that
I haven't heard of anything about that. That sounds insane though.
Yeah, there's no way that a lot of these functions with nameplates are going to exist in the Blizzard, but in my opinion, like they shouldn't, right? Like that's a huge knowledge gap and setup gap that shouldn't exist in the game to like have these cheater Plater scripts or whatever.
I mean, I think their goal from what I recall was just to remove all add-ons from Raid, and we'll see if that happens. Like we'll see where it goes. I don't even know. Like is it going to be for midnight launch? It doesn't sound like it is at this time. So maybe season 2 or season 3 or something.
Yeah, and I mean the scary part is Blizzard stuff going to suck, and I think almost definitely it not only will have less functionality than what we have, but it may suck. Unfortunate. This is a pain period that our arms race of add-ons have brought us to. And while it's true that we may go through a tier where it sucks, I mean, I think it'll be worth it in the long run. Like, I think people who are natively good with add-ons and are used to like configuring everything and setting everything up might feel bothered by this, but it is such a boon to people who aren't good with add-ons or who are getting into the game who won't have to deal with any of this stuff. Like having to explain to somebody Plater, like, dude, just open up Plater and look at how many options and things you can do in Plater. Like, that is ridiculous. Like, and the fact that that actually has an impact on your gameplay and you can like significantly improve your damage or your visibility by knowing all these different menus is like crazy.
Yeah. What was the last thing you mentioned? Boss mods.
Oh yeah, boss mods. Those also get deleted.
I think that one's good. I mean, we all played Fellowship, which had the boss mods default in the game.
Yeah.
Which I think is just healthy for the game, honestly.
It's one of those things that I actually don't think that boss mods from DBM versus bigwigs are actually that big of a differentiator, aside from the fact that bigwigs is a little bit more customizable in their boss mods. But if Blizzard just gave you everything you needed beforehand anyways, and you didn't need to customize anything, then like, what does it matter, right?
The big one that I'm worried the most about for raid encounters is the prevalence of liquid reminders, which is a spin-off of the old like Kaze ERT note thing. The problem with this, so basically, if anyone's not familiar, like whenever you watch the Race World first streams and you constantly see all these words in the middle of their stream, okay, soak here, 3, 2, 1, press ice cold, 3, 2, 1, okay, blink, go to triangle, 3, 2, 1. These are all like pre-written notes that you have, right? And in many fights that are scripted or like dance fights, you could easily have like a big script telling you exactly what to do, when to press your cooldowns, blah, 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 right? This is going to be very hard for Blizzard because this is not computational, right?
Yeah.
There's some of the stuff it is, but a lot of it isn't, right? Just like reminders and telling you what to do. And I'm interested because, like, theoretically, let's say they ban those, right? You could technically have a sound file that you, as soon as you click the portal to Dimensius, you press play and it still does everything that Liquid Reminders does just in a MP3 or whatever, which is like ridiculous if that goes that. But you know the world first guilds would do that, right? Like if they gutted boss mods and reminders tomorrow, the next race they would all have sound files or like 21st man yelling every single thing.
So this is the first tier I've rated since Aberrus. Let me just say, I fucking cannot stand what weak aura packs are now doing.
Yes.
I took 3 raid tiers off, and every single boss has a weak aura pack that's in your ear, like whispering to you all the mechanics and what you need to be doing next. Like unfortunately, don't soak. And then like next one says, soak. DC soon. And I'm just like, what? Like, dude. Like, this can't be the best way to play the game, man. Like, come on. I don't think it's very fun for it to be like that either.
The one thing I will say about that is, like, I think, as you mentioned, this shows how prevalent weak auras are and how much I think they need to be removed. But I think this tier has also shown, other than Fractilis, how much like Blizzard can design fights that don't need weak auras. Because I'm pretty sure, aside from Fractilis, which is the weak aura boss, it is only the weak aura boss, every other fight is fine.
Except the fact that add-ons on Forge Weaver just make that fight 10 times easier. Yeah, it is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your guys' prog was like, but we had a giant CC rotation for every single person where it would like say, okay, this person, like JB Typhoon, you're next. Jangbi Supernova.
Okay. That exists, but we also had someone calling it like the old-fashioned way as well, just because of how important they were. And that's what you would do in a world without weak auras.
Okay, true. But it removes the skill that's attached to like being able to do that stuff without the weak auras. Now you have the weak aura being able to not actually play the game for you, but you have the weak aura framework of making sure that everybody's on the same page as opposed to actually playing the game.
I mean, regardless of that though, like I think we can all agree Dimensius was a weak auralist fight for the most part. You did not need weak aura assignment.
Dimensius is a weak auralist fight. I think that Dimensius has problems where it's 100% micro movement and like very 5-yard range movement intensive, which, you know, I think that that's the whole different problem with that boss.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what they're going to do about nerfing that encounter, but yes, you don't need weak auras for it.
I mean, the funny thing is, I pointed this out of Forge Weaver, Forge Master. I don't.
Forge Weaver. It is Forge Weaver.
Forge Weaver. They said before the tier in like Wowhead's interview, they wanted to remove the twitchiness of gameplay, and both Forge Weaver and Dimensius are very much not that.
Dude, I had a situation on Forge Weaver show up where I had Ad Drop plus Puddle Drop on my Nox set, and I was going through it. I was like, I don't even... I somehow dropped my ad and didn't kill my entire raid with the puddle and got my knock. I was like, I don't even know how I did that. I asked them after the fact. I was like, what am I even supposed to do there? They're like, just drop your ad in the middle of nowhere and just call for the DK to grip it. I was like, holy shit. Like, the fact that overlaps like that can even happen on Forge Weaver, or they create these 1 second long construct, what's it called? Photon Blast. Cast.
Oh, the 1 second thing was bullshit.
Yeah, like that is all nonsense. Completely unnecessary. But yeah. Okay, what other stuff do we want to talk about in Midnight? Devourer, Demon Hunter, you guys. Yes. Why is it intellect, by the way? What is that?
They're casters.
Melee casters?
No, they're mid-range.
Wow. Okay, how they read like it played was that it was like going to be leaping in and out of melee and range.
So they mentioned there's 2 playstyles.
Yeah.
There is so the first way you play it is mid-range. It is like Legion, Shadow Priest, Void Form / WAD demo, where you basically build up souls and need to stay in that form as long as possible.
This won't be problematic at all.
No, it's almost like they just removed Breath of Sinjagrosa, which just had a very similar aspect. And there's a reason those previous specs don't exist anymore.
Where is Ravenous Frenzy Moonkin? Oh, I found it. It's gone.
But the other way, if you don't want to do that, is a hybrid where you're dashing around a lot in melee sometimes. But it's more just mobility. So
are either of you two interested in this spec?
Yeah, I'd say so.
More interested than, like, let's say Evoker whenever it was announced?
No.
Personally, I vibed a lot with Evoker. I thought Evoker was cool. Maybe it was just because it had a healing spec. And I'm not a big melee player.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to say I'm not interested in it. It's just like, you know.
I
think I fuck with this a lot
really
more than I fucked with Evoker. I think this is really this looks really sweet.
I'm a little worried. It feels like I'm a little worried that there are going to be things forced into here that might not be great for gameplay that they seem to be wanting to do, like Evokers did as well. The 2 things are this whole mid-range idea and also the idea of empowered spells. Like, you know, they're going to throw some empowered spells on this class, which I just don't think are... Like, I would say for every 1 good empowered spell, there was like 4 other ones that were completely pointless, and that didn't.
Yeah.
You know, very rarely do you need to use this empower mechanic on abilities. So hopefully they do that right. But overall, I mean, it seems cool. I mean, it's a super, super cool theme. I think Demon Hunters are like up there with some of like the most fan favorite specs, right? So making another.
Yeah.
I also think the idea of melee and ranged is really, really cool. Like, I think like being ranged in your cooldowns and then being melee is like pretty fucking sick. I know like Enhance has a little bit of that too, and I think that's like a really cool like flavor profile, the way that your class plays. You know, anytime
it's like Red Mage from Final Fantasy is, I think, what.
Yeah,
it's
like anytime
like.
you can feel different in your cooldowns, I think that's like a dub.
Yeah, I think is this going to get marked as melee or ranged?
I assume it's ranged. I assume it's ranged. But the one concern that I have is if this is going to shove Havoc out of the like meta. Very similar to how like Survival's dead and Feral is dead most of the time. Like, is this going to shove Havoc out of the meta in your opinion?
So Havoc killed off all the Feral, Rogue, Windwalker player base effectively in Legion whenever it came out. I remember it was very well regarded. I think that this is unique enough that it's unlikely, because I think that the people who picked up Havoc were melee players, right? Like, they were ferals, they were rogues, they were Windwalker monks. Those were the people who picked up Havoc Demon Hunter. The people who are going to pick up this, I think, are people who I think it's more likely to be casters that are picking this up. No,
I don't know.
Because it's the
It was
same.
just a thought that I had.
The same people who are more interested in this would probably be more interested in like Evoker, but Evoker not very popular. One of the actual least popular class in the game.
But overall, I think a new spec is hype though.
I'm down. Like, I'm down for a new spec. This is gonna be cool. I think that the building up the void form thing, that's not gonna be problematic at all. There's no reason that all of them got deleted in the past.
I think the other thing I want to talk about is the new talent stuff.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because that's a pretty big deal. So every class is getting, you're getting 10 new talent points from leveling from 80 to 90. 3 of those are going into your class tree to start. And first of all, I guess we could talk about the class tree. How do you feel about 3 new talent points in your class tree?
I mean, most classes I feel like already get everything out of their class tree except for, I don't know, Warlock, pretty much. I think that class tree bloat is a real thing, but I think that class tree bloat is more of an issue of design and less of an issue of like points, where Blizzard designed the system with the class tree to begin with, and they just, for some reason, 30% of the classes in the game got everything and 70% didn't. And the 70% who didn't get everything complained until they got everything, and they got eventually reworked where you basically have everything you'd ever want in your class tree regardless, with that basically no concessions. 3 additional points on top of that. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be good for, I don't know, Evoker and Warlock, but most classes I think it's not going to do anything. I was looking at my class tree earlier. I don't even know what I put 3 points in. I genuinely don't even know.
Yeah.
After all my rants about how the hero talent trees are like, just there's so many unnecessary nodes and like random things, and then just looking at this screenshot and being like, here's the new and improved hero talent trees, and there's just even more nodes on there. Like, I mean, I don't know, like maybe from a more casual level where you're like not really looking up builds and you're just kind of clicking around, like this stuff is fun, but I just think that they really need to focus on making classes fun and giving you options that are viable in the way that you play your class. And I don't think that, like, the more you bloat these trees, I believe the harder that gets. The harder that it gets to understand where your damage is coming from and where you can make decisions. And yeah, I don't know. I think that even if they can successfully balance things, I just don't like to me, a bigger tree doesn't make it any better.
Yeah. So to go back to the class tree thing real quick, I just want to like, I feel like Tettle said, some specs are going to get a lot, and some specs are going to get like Tremor Totem, like all the time, and that's just like, okay, cool. Unless they rework them, which they haven't mentioned if they're going to rework class trees or not. So, but the thing GROWL was talking about is hero talents. Every single hero talent is getting a 4th lane that you're going to be getting. Every spec's getting them, and so you're going to get 3 new things that go directly to the hero talent. And one of the things that Word Up pointed to me was, and I believe this to be true, is that new lane is going to be based around your current tier set. Bracket, assuming it's good.
That, and like, you mean your War Within Season 3 tier set, or your future tier set?
Your Season 3 tier set. I agree with him on this, and that's because they put a lot of work into these tier sets. There are certain ones that are very, very visually spectacular, and they put in a lot of work into fixing them.
Can they fix mine?
Well, get fucked, I guess.
Yeah.
But like the Scale Commander one is obviously really good. Like there's the Shaman ones, the Farseers. Like there's a lot of work that went into these, and I suspect some of the good ones are going to stick around in that row. I think I believe this cook.
Dude, this is just the bloat that we were it's kind of always been discussed with WoW, where it's just like with 30 talent points and a hero talent tree, it's hard to really know what matters and what doesn't whenever there's just like so much stuff. And you know, that's part of the rotational bloat especially whenever you have a bunch of passives and abilities. But then there's also defensive and CC bloat that they're not even looking to address yet. And their solution to this is just giving us three more class tree points. Like, I don't know, like pretty unanimously, every high-end player agrees that there's way too many defensives and way too much CC in the game, and the game could use a disarming, but Blizzard seems unwilling to do it.
I mean, that's because the casuals like their utility. The more buttons they have, the more cool toys they have while they're doing delves.
But
they don't press them.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're not pressing it, does it matter?
I don't know, but that's what Blizzard thinks.
I think they should design delves differently then, no?
No.
You stepped in it.
What did you say?
Like, if for some reason delves require 2 AoE stuns and a sigil of misery, like, bro, please. Like, there's just no fucking way that you need that in a delve. There's no
doesn't matter how
there's no reason that I need
the rewards are
Typhoon, in-cap roar, both on a 30-second cooldown, Ursul's Vortex, and a Solar Beam. Like, I don't, like, there's no way that every class needs that much CC.
Alright, angry comments, call out titles about how much you use your CC in delves. No, but I mean, we'll see how this one goes. There's no guarantee as to what this route is. It could just be flat out damage.
Yeah.
For all we know, or something like that. But the last one then is on the spec tree. Each spec is getting a single node that has 4 ranks on it.
Now this is fire.
Each rank is really powerful according to Blizzard, especially the first and the last point. So I think the example that they gave was for Devourer Demon Hunter. Oh, there you go. And Preservation Evoker. GROWL, what do you think of this for like Prez?
So how does this work?
So it's a
Go ahead, sorry.
What? Okay. Basically, it's a 4-rank node where each rank is actually a different thing. So in order to get the last rank, you need to have all the previous ranks. You're not required to put in any or all your points into this. You could put it somewhere else in the spec tree, but Blizzard, I think, intends for you to put all 4 new nodes in this.
So it's a node that it's a node, but it's not in the tree, and it's optional, but it's the best by far, and you have to put 4 points into it.
Well, we don't know if it's the best by far, but the other stuff you said was true, yes.
Yeah. You don't have to put 4. If you, for some reason, you hate the 4th point, you can put 3 in it. But they intentionally are making the first and the last.
Everyone feels indifferent. They just load whatever the Wowhead build is. And the Wowhead build is going to have all 4 of the points. It's not about what was fun. We're WoW players. We don't care what's fun.
You're not wrong.
That's true. I think this is cool, though. My gut reaction.
You're not wrong.
A lot of people definitely are just going to take the build that they get.
I'm like lukewarm on it personally. Like, collapsing star automatically crits is that really that cool? Like, is it gonna be good for damage? Yeah, probably. Is it cool? I don't know about that. So I think there's just a lot missing, and it kind of ties back to like the way this reveal happened. It's just like people are hungry for information and you didn't really give them much.
Yeah, the fact that they use Devourer Demon Hunter as an example, like, okay, I bet you might be familiar with it because you read through everything, but like collapsing always critically strikes. What does that even mean? Like why did they use Devourer Demon Hunter as an example? Like, why don't they pick a class where we know what the tree is?
I mean, they picked Prez Evoker too, which is like all the specs to pick. The new one that's a healer, probably not the highest population. Like, pick Ret Paladin or BM Hunter or something to show off if you're gonna pick one.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Like, why wouldn't they do Ret Paladin? I don't know. I think there's just so many different ways that they can inject player power in, and it just feels so forced. Like, this is just hero talents 2. is what they're doing now. Like they come out in Dragonflight and they say, "Oh, we're going to do this evergreen talent tree system," and then they couldn't come up with anything and were within except for to just like at least hero talents. There's like a little bit of flavor involved, and there's like you change the way you play. But now it's like they're just throwing nodes at the bottom of the tree that don't connect to anything. Like how is that any different from like a tier set or like anything else in the game?
This is actually what this is part of the reason that I think that War Within didn't land super well is because there wasn't enough that was changing from Dragonflight. That pretty much everybody who played War Within said, "I've already played all this. This feels the exact same as Dragonflight." With these changes, they didn't announce anything that was like game changing. I do worry that like are the players like while the people who are currently playing retail are probably enjoying it. Like I think that the two like all three of us are enjoying retail currently. The people who would jump in though normally are like, I already played this with the beginning of Dragonflight. I'm not playing this again, and that to me is concerning.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We'll know more when the alpha comes out. So like alpha beta.
To me, that just feels like such a weird casual surface level. Like I guess I just don't understand it, right? Because like if you're like doing hard content and playing your class well, that's not true at all, right? Like classes have changed a lot over like maybe not all of them, but a lot of them have, right? And if you're somebody who plays like more casually, like okay, well then pick a different class. Like why do you keep picking Ret Paladin and then being like, oh well, this is the same thing? It's like, yeah, you picked the same thing. Like, what do you mean it's the same thing and there's nothing new? Like, what do you want your guy to just run around and shoot laser beams all of a sudden? Oh wait, that's what paladins do now. Like, I don't understand it. Like,
yeah,
I don't really understand. Like, to me, there's so much in the game to explore in terms of variety. Like, there's so many classes that I don't play that I know nothing about. That if I wanted more variety, would be like such a like. Why does every single class need to get all tons and tons of new things every single time?
Because some people want to role play as a human paladin in World of Warcraft, and that's their identity. Is they come home from their 9-to-5 job as an accountant, and they see this human paladin that's mogged and looks exactly like them, and they go, "This is peak gaming."
But they need to completely change their gameplay and have all these new abilities every time.
I am the arbiter of the light, GROWL. You do not understand.
They need to have new legendary
you just leveled up.
They need to have new cantrip weapons. They need to have new hero talents. They need to have new abilities. They need to have new tier sets. Like, but they're not going to think about any of it. They're just going to load the Wowhead build and then use the one-button rotation assistant.
I think regardless of what you're saying being true or not, it's pretty clear that War Within didn't land super well, and I personally think that hero talents are a large part of that because they weren't flashy, right?
I don't know. I feel like WoW's in a pretty good. I feel like WoW's in a pretty good spot right now. I feel like Midnight's actually going to be really hype. I think so the direction that they're going, like, there's so many things that are on the up, and I think player housing is going to be huge. I think that the game overall is just in a good spot, and like while there's been rocky patches, things are going overall well, and they have so much stuff that's like loaded in the tank that we know is like being worked on right now. Like Season of Discovery died. They're going to do something with Classic at some point. Like they're talking about like some sort of integration. Like what do they do with Mop Classic? Like they're doing the Legion remix things. Like I feel like the next 2 years for WoW are going to be crazy.
I've been having a lot of fun.
Really, really good.
Personally, I've been having a lot of fun since Dragonflight. Shadowlands was a little.
And they don't need to just add a bunch of nodes to every talent tree. I think we're fine with the talent trees. They don't need to add more nodes for that to be the case.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a couple more things from Midnight. New delves. Delves are back. With new delves.
Next.
All right. And you can sign up for the beta now on the website.
Ooh, sign up.
That eventually comes out.
Sign up so that you can get declined, and then every single streamer gets accepted, and then you have to watch them.
GROWL is on something right now.
Let's humble him with Squishy's cool stuff that he's seen this week.
What is this clip?
This is Squishy's cool thing that he's seen this week. Squishy, you want to walk us through this?
So,
what?
I was watching one Yumi TV on Twitch, and they were attempting their Deathless run here, and they were on Suzami, and it went really, really well. Really, really well. GROWL, do you have anything else to add?
No. So basically, we have kicks assigned. We have 4 different quadrants, and you need to kick them and to bounce the boss around the different quadrants. Unfortunately, if you notice our kick tracker here, we have only 3 kicks, and our Shadow Priest loaded their raid build before the boss, and their raid build did not include a kick. Unfortunately, our Shadow Priest also does not use voice, and so they just sat there by the boss. Apparently, Drogo, who was our AUG, noticed this, but was also muted because he was yapping to his stream. And so both the person, Junkrat, didn't have a kick, and Drogo was yelling into his mic while muted, so we couldn't hear him. And then the other 3 people were just standing in our quadrants waiting patiently, and then we died.
So what I'm hearing is that it's your fault for inviting a disc priest who doesn't get an interrupt by default, right?
Yeah, well, he's definitely is coming on Shaman next week.
Yeah.
No, I don't care. I mean, I think so far I've had like terrible luck with this. I got like a ring that I don't even use now in the first week, and then I failed the second week. I still think this is great. I'm still a huge fan of the hard mode Taz. I think this is a great addition.
I'm going to stand by the fact that I think this is a lot of fun. We completed it this week. My entire 5 stack from my guild got 0 upgrades. Somehow we managed to get 0 upgrades. I don't even know how this is possible. We all just got 15 crests.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Did you guys complete your squishy this week?
No.
Why not? What happened?
We wiped from the last boss due to a bad call.
You wiped at the last boss.
We sucked early. To a bad call. We got the suck during the rings. Tragic. It is what it is.
The very end. Oh no. All right. Let's move on to Q&A. If you want your Q&A answered on the bench, tweet at the bench wow on Twitter, where we will pick up your Q&A. This week, got a couple of light questions. First one from Mortadin. It says, what's your favorite dungeon boss of all time and why?
Ooh.
Nostalgia pick. I have to pick Galvast from BFA. It was basically like the first patchwork healing fight that I did, and like it was just fun being the guy. When you're a healer and you're doing the patchwork healer boss, you're just the guy. Nowadays, I feel like it's those bosses aren't necessarily my favorite, but that was like my first introduction to the game and learning to play. And I remember like watching VODs of really good healers on slow motion and like trying to learn all the ins and outs and like mastering it. And eventually, I got pretty good at it. So I feel like nostalgia wise, I don't know, it's not really even design wise the best boss, but.
I'm thinking if you have anything, Tuttles.
Dungeon boss. I mean, dungeon boss is tough. So many of them I feel like I'm like neutral on, and then the ones that I have feelings about, they're always negative. Because dungeon bosses have this tendency to like be very polarizing in that regard.
Let's see here.
Dragonflight dungeon. I'm literally just like looking at the dungeons from like previous expansions and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, another boss that was really cool design wise that I loved was what was the second boss of Nokud Offensive, the
the Raging Tempest. I was thinking about that earlier too.
I thought that was a very, very well designed boss.
I thought that was a well designed boss. The problem that I have with that guy is that there was like weird range restrictions on that guy that kind of annoyed me sometimes. But yeah, I genuinely thought that guy was pretty good.
I think. Okay, this is probably gonna be a hot take here. Ventunax in Spires of Ascension.
Is that the second boss?
Yeah, the bullet hell one. That's not a bad pick. I think that's like
my preferred type of like gameplay is like that kind of looking, figuring out where the safe spot is, dodging, that kind of thing. Like that's all the fight is realistically. And I think that's what I really enjoy. My troll pick is Overseer Korgus. Do you even know who that is?
Where's that even from? No.
GROWL,
it's a BFA boss.
It is. It's
is that the
don't get caught in the crossfire.
That's the last boss of that's Toldagor, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't for the doubles, I actually think that boss is pretty interesting.
I mean, I honestly didn't even mind the doubles. Like to me, that added some spice to the fight. I'm a gambling man, so sometimes I don't really, I mean, dude, the best part, dude, when we were hate watching other groups and just like double, and then they hit, you're like, yeah, and they live, and you're like, oh, then another double. I mean, it's really fun to conquer the challenge.
I liked Overgrown Ancient and Croth from Alg Academy. I think that both of those are probably pretty controversial. But I actually thought that both of those bosses were pretty good.
I think Croth sucked. I do like Overgrowth Ancient.
Agreed with that.
I understand why Croth is polarizing because it's like this spam one-shot bullshit. But something about the coordination on it made me kind of enjoy it a little bit more. But I do understand why a lot. That's why I said I knew it's going to be polarizing. But I liked both of those.
I respect it
for very different reasons. Other question that we had for Q&A this week was from Zach. He says the biggest race world first debate never dies.
No.
US starts earlier, EU gets the disadvantage. Do we ever see Blizzard unify raid release times, or does Echo eventually switch regions to compete on equal ground?
GROWL, you go ahead, GROWL.
I think in general the EU people way overblow the advantage that NA has. Like, there's definitely an inherent advantage to being NA like almost all the time. However, the disadvantage is not a full day, it's 16 hours. Then you take account the maintenance at the start of the patch, which is always worse for NA, and that's like a couple hours off. On top of that, EU gets to look at the strats they used, and they're going to shave some time there. So realistically, the time difference is very small. The big difference is going to be when there's gear required to kill a boss and NA gets their reset, gets all their gear, and then walks in and kills it before EU gets their reset. That's going to be what makes Blizzard do the global release, because everyone is going to be pissed about that. But like, dude, this race, I would say that the difference between NA and EU was like virtually zero. Like there was no difference at all with this race.
Yeah, I mean, also to mention, GROWL mentioned, but I think it's pretty well known, like hotfix timings are like, I think for Forge Weaver, NA worked on a pretty unkillable Forge Weaver for a number of extra hours, and then the hotfix came in. Like, usually the hotfixes are the great equalizer.
Hotfixes.
Obviously, we would all prefer that they do a global release. Obviously, it makes the raid better. Unfortunately, they just, for whatever reason, don't have the infrastructure. They can't do it, and maybe they'll do that at some point, but it's not like some decision that they made where like, oh well, NA is slower because they're eating their cheeseburgers, so we got to give them a head start. Like, it's literally just a matter of like, they have to roll it out piecemeal, and they can't roll it out everywhere at the same time.
I think it's due to reset more than anything else, where also, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but NA always has long maintenance. Like every single reset, we get like 2-3 hours of maintenance, like minimum, where the rest of the world gets their servers that come up immediately because they have the patch that's just like ready to deploy for all those other regions, which it's fine because NA's maintenance is at whatever, somewhere between 7 to 10 a.m., depending on where you are in the US. But if you're Europe, that's, say, 5 p.m., 4 p.m., something like that. And if you're in China, that's their prime time, right? So then, like, how are you supposed to do like a global reset? Because also, like, if the raid reset in the middle of prime time too, like, imagine you raided on Tuesdays and your region has raided on Tuesdays for forever, and now Tuesdays have this reset in the middle of your raid where you just have to start reprogging, like all right, so the first hour we're going to be doing Fractalist progression, and then we're going to start our Mythic Reclear after that. Like that's not a thing either.
I mean, regardless, even if they even it out as much as possible, due to time zones in general, somebody's going to bed first. Like, it's just going to happen, because realistically, even if you wanted to play on an NA time frame, adjusting to that is going to take a while, and it's also not going to be like you're going to be off kilter, and that's going to throw off your play. Going to bed when it is light and waking up when it is dark is not going to help your play, even if it's marginal. And especially on devices like Dimensius, you really need every little bit you can get.
Yeah, I wish that servers were merged worldwide. I wish that we had like a global reset. I think the reset is the problem with how the game is played. Like, when you get your vaults, what actually happens on the reset. Maybe they could do rolling resets where it's a little bit closer to one another, where China only is like 6 hours behind, and Europe's reset happens a little bit after that even. But even still, I think there's always going to be a disadvantage. I think it's just, it would make a better race world first. I think that it's pretty undeniable that it would make a better race world first. I think it would make for a worse player experience for most people that play the game, though, which is the reason that they're not going to go for it. It does suck, though, because I feel like World of Warcraft's the only video game that's kind of like this, where it's heavily separated and not everything is at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts for this week's app?
Good luck in your vault.
All right.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, good luck in the vaults, friends. Enjoy these juicy vaults in the beginning of the tier while we can.
GG skis.
Hell yeah.
GG's.